Recording in progress. Good morning to one and all present here. We, the Symbiosis Institute of Operations Management Nashik family, welcome you all to the 13th edition of our annual flagship conclave, Digital HR Summit 2021. Let's start today's journey with a corporate video.
Globalization and technology has transformed modern businesses. The modern economy today runs on globally interconnected value chains. May it be Indian Railways carrying 23 million passengers, or FedEx handling 29 million pounds of freight per day, or the famous Arvind Eye Care Hospital performing 1,500 surgeries daily. All entities owe their success to highly effective and synchronized operating model attributing operations excellence. Be it humanitarian supply chain, military operations, natural disaster management or workings of global businesses, operations excellence is a strategic weapon to many. Symbiosis Institute of Operations Management, Nasik, a forerunner in anticipating the criticality that the field of operations beholds, is India's only institute fully dedicated to operations excellence. Under the gamut of Symbiosis International University, SIOM is a sui generis institution established with the mission of empowering and leading operations excellence. True to its mission, SIOM has been fueling the industry with operations professionals churned out of its flagship MBA program in operations management exclusively for engineers since its inception in 2005. Owing to its contributions to the field of operations, SIOM has grown beyond laurels of best industry-related curriculum, and it is all geared up towards Industry 5.0 with inclusion of machine learning, artificial intelligence and IIoT. Providing an excellent industry interface, SIOM, now an operational excellence hub, attracts top recruiters for operations-related profiles. SIOM boasts of its alumni presence and recruiters network in top companies across the sectors, be it manufacturing, logistics, retail, e-commerce, hospitality, banking and financial services, consultancy, pharmaceutical, and many more. Surmounting credibility by corporate recruiters is an outcome of holistic and multidisciplinary engagement of students, be it technical expertise, leadership values, or social sensibility initiatives strategically woven in overall learning environment. Backed with robust project-based learning, Harvard simulations, case studies, research orientation and strategic industry interface through research conference, guest lectures, hrsummit, Operations Summit Tattva, TEDx, and 2 internships. The students are all geared up to take on the challenges of rapidly evolving technological capabilities and value chain complexities, the critical areas of concern for every organization today. SIOM, with intent of knowledge dissemination, offers corporate training programs, customized certifications and consultancy services in the area of operations. Some of our past and current beneficiaries include multinational corporations like GE, GSK and many more. Connect to us for anything and everything related to operations.
SIOM pulsates with the conviction that future CEOs and industry leadership will emerge from operations and supply chain domain, and we feel responsible towards it. This citadel of learning and competency development is exclusively for working executives, MBA aspirants, and the corporates. We act as catalysts to fuel their careers and, of course, develop operations competencies within organizations. This love for our niche has developed key result area which will impact your triple bottom lines very, very positively. A perfect symbiosis of industry and academia, SIOM is one-stop shop for everyone who is excited about operations management. I invite you to SIOM not just to fuel your talent supply chain, but also to engage with us on your operations expertise and experiences. Come, let's engage.
Connect to the best in operations. Engage with SIOM for operations excellence.
As said by Reid Hoffman, the fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are already the way you want to be. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today marks the fourth and final webisode of our 13th edition of HR Summit, and we are proud to be able to host it today here on this wonderful platform with all of you. Before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of the speakers, panelists, the organizing team, our faculty, and my dear batchmates who generously helped us to make this event come together and become a great success. We couldn't have done it without you. We hope that you enjoyed all of the previous sessions and were able to digitally network amongst yourselves. I am Subramanian, and I'm honored to be the host for this session. On behalf of Symbiosis Institute of Operations Management, we thank you all for your gracious presence in the 13th edition of the annual flagship conclave HR Summit. Started in the year 2009, HR Summit has been the flagship event of Symbiosis Institute of Operations Management and the entire Symbiosis family. In the past, we have witnessed the confluence of experienced HR professionals, business leaders, and experts sharing their insights around the themes like unprecedented roots, collaborative intelligence, and HR consumerization. The COVID-19 has grandly shaken all organizations, creating a complex and challenging environment for human resource management practitioners who need to find ingenious solutions to ensure that the continuity of their companies and also to help their employees to cope up with this extraordinary crisis. The HR departments of major organizations are going through a paradigm shift in the way they are perceived and operated. The lessons learned from surviving is undoubtedly going to redefine the way companies work and force their leaders to step up their game. What would be the ultimate impact on leadership? What would be the real challenges faced? As a leader, how you bring the wind of change while you dive into the unknown and forge unity of effort across the organization. It is time to talk about this art of leadership, and we invite you to engage with us and be the wind of change. This leads us to our theme, Wind of Change, the art of high-impact leadership. HR Summit 2021 would not have been possible without the generous support of our sponsors. We would like to thank our sponsors, our gifting partner, Super Smelly, our knowledge partner, NovaRex, our confectionery partner, Byte, our apparel partner, Ethnician, our global mentoring partner, CXO Mentors, our EdTech partner, Versio, our event listing partner, NovaFest, our outreach partner, D2C Igniters Club. There are so many memories attached with the previous HR Summits. HR Summit always has been and will be dynamic, vivacious, and enthralling. Speaking of all of these qualities, I can think of only one person, Dr. Vandana Sonwane. Dr. Sonwane is the founding member and director of Symbiosis Institute of Operations Management. Shifted to academics 27 years back after 12 years of a corporate experience in sectors such as electronics, FMCG, and services, with profiles in brand liquidation, logistics service enhancement, SNOP, SCM, and consulting. Under her leadership, SIOM bagged the best industry interface and best industry-oriented curriculum every year since 2009. SIOM also received the prestigious Education Excellence Award 2018 by the Confederation of India International Accreditation Commission Forum in Delhi. Dr. Sonwane is a recipient of the Distinguished Service Award for a contribution to fostering management research. She received the Indian Leadership Award for Education Excellence by All India Achievers Foundation, New Delhi, and the Outstanding B School Director Award in 2019. She's also currently on CII Maharashtra Task Force for Manufacturing and Innovation, and also a co-convener of Industry Institute Collaboration at CII Northwest Maharashtra Zone. She's on the National Advisory Board of SME Chamber of India. Dr. Sonwane acts as an independent director on the company boards. She's a member of the board of Symbiosis International Deemed University. A keen drive for competency building, technology-oriented and corporate-linked learning systems has been the game changer, with the vision of empowering and leading operations excellence for industry and community at large. She pledges to fuel transformation and leadership competencies to medium and small firms in a constructive way. Let me now invite Dr. Vandana Sonwane, ma'am, to share a few words. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Harish. Am I audible well?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Very, very good morning to all the delegates here, to all the speakers and the students, of course. It's a very exciting time to start the event and, of course, to come at the fag end of the event and to celebrate the last day. The celebrations are more so because the last 3 days they have been so good, you know. It has kept with the legacy of the HR Summit. We've had a galaxy of speakers in the last week and, of course, yesterday too. We're talking about a very important topic here, the art of impactful leadership. And even today's speakers who are there with you, going to engage you with their very, very enriching thoughts, I'm sure they're going to be the icing on the cake there. In fact, to commence the day with Mr. Thomas itself is such a great experience. Though he just told me that he's not a doctor, I think the amount of experience that he has, every corporate leader gets endowed with such great experiences that one can learn so much from. So, Mr. Thomas, you are more than a single PhD that most of the doctorates get in 5 to 10 years, so as to say. Yeah. So of course, today we will be also joined by Ms. Uma Rao, and there is a panel discussion on some very important topic. I hope you enjoy these. We are also looking forward to your feedback as we end the day today. I would surely want to look at your feedback, the speaker's feedback, so that we make it much better. Nothing is more demanding in today's times than leadership with impact, and which is the most difficult thing for leaders to do today. But I think the amount when you surf through the web and when we surf through the stories that very senior leaders in the industry have showcased, and the way the stories are being told to all of us of they having lived the crisis, I think that's a great learning for us. It has just reiterated back to us that nothing is impossible. And as we at SIOM say that let no crisis go waste. So I think for both my batches this year, the crisis has proven to be a benefit, because there are so many great stories that the corporate leaders are sharing with us. So I hope you have a very enriching day today too, and please be with us till the end. Have a nice day there. Thank you so much. Thank you. Over to you, Harish.
Thank you, ma'am, for those ever so inspiring words and for giving this day a grand start. What we have next in line is a very interesting keynote session by Mr. Thomas Kuruvilla, Managing Partner, R30 Little Middle East. Mr. Kuruvilla is currently working as operations in the Middle East and also the head of strategy and organization practice in both South Asia and Middle East. An alumnus of the Melbourne Business School, Mr. Kuruvilla is also part-time faculty at some of India's premier B schools for programs such as International Business Strategy, Family Conglomerate Strategy, and Governance and Management Consulting. He has also been a speaker in conferences in the areas of corporate governance, international business strategy, turnaround management, and corporate venturing. Having a rich experience as a thought leader and esteemed faculty spanning over a period of more than 25 years, he has led multiple transformational engagements on economic development and digital transformation across several industries. This session will be on the topic Leadership's Role in Adapting to the Work Ecosystem, Aligning with the New Digital Paradigm. It will be a 20 minutes of keynote speech followed by 20 minutes of Q&A. I would encourage delegates to put forth their questions in the chat box. Without any further ado, I would now request Mr. Thomas Kuruvilla to take over the stage and lead us to an invigorating session ahead. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir. Crystal clear.
Thank you very much. I will try to keep the presentation quite short, and then hopefully we can get into a discussion. Let me just share my screen to start with. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I would like to share some very key inputs or thoughts, and it is primarily coming in from the recent work we have done after COVID, because a lot of things have changed fundamentally in my perspective. And we have been consulting with many organizations in the Middle East and also in Europe and India over the last 2 years. And we have observed some very fundamental changes. And I personally believe that these changes, at least 50 to 60% of what we are seeing during COVID, will remain even after COVID, assuming that COVID passes by, right? So I just wanted to share some quick inputs on that, and I will open up for a Q&A, and I'll be very happy to have some discussions around that. Yeah, no. And I will make some very strong statements, a little bit exaggerated to get the message across so that we can trigger a discussion, right? So in my view, the way of doing business will fundamentally change, or has to change fundamentally going forward. If you have to survive, you definitely need to have a very, very agile setup, because assuming that you can predict the world going forward is wrong. You will not be able to predict what is going to happen. You cannot, and hence, if you cannot predict, then having a very systematic, fixed organization structure with a fixed group of people, with a fixed group of tasks to be done, is not possible if you believe that the world is unpredictable and it is going to change. And I will even make one more very strong statement saying that domain knowledge may be outdated. It is a very strong statement because if in the past, we always used to rely on domain knowledge, but when there are very fundamental changes happening in an industry and your experience, which is more than 5 years back, becomes irrelevant if the sector is having some very fundamental changes. So then what is more important? It is not your domain knowledge. It is more the type of people that you will hire and the flexibilities you give them, an organization very successful versus having somebody who knows a topic which may not be relevant going forward because there are fundamental changes. I just wanted to start with that statement, right? No. As I mentioned, I am going to make some very strong statements. With the advancement of connectivity, technology, and artificial intelligence, we should try to run business in a much more digitalized fashion. And wherever you can eliminate human intervention, you are better off. Generally, human intervention, if not managed properly, tends to be a disturbance. And that is what we have started observing. So wherever you can digitalize the business and run it digitally, that is the best way to run a business, right? Again, this is the second statement is again based on real work that we have done in the last 2 to 3 years, that the more you digitalize the business and the more you are able to eliminate human intervention, any business, I can actually prove it to you that any business, the value can be increased by 30 to 40% by reducing human intervention and trying to automate the way you run the business, right? Just to confirm so that I don't continue speaking, that I hope you can see my screen and you can listen to me quite well, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, while I'm saying that we need to eliminate human intervention, again, when you're trying to automate or digitalize things, human intervention can be eliminated only for repetitive or predictable things, right? Because when people are going to take over, you have to pre-program what needs to be done, or you will definitely have the support of artificial intelligence where you can at least predict what humans are supposed to do, right? So human intervention should technically be only towards where there is value addition, value creation happening, and it is not something that is repetitive, that is not something that can be predicted. And since you are going to create much more value than in the past, technically the compensation and the remuneration for human beings are supposed to be much higher than what we are getting before the COVID situation. People have a feeling that because of COVID, things are becoming much tougher and hence people will not have a job. I have a very fundamental view against it, that going forward, when you are eliminating repetitive businesses, you are going to do much more value-added tasks. Your expectation on remuneration can significantly be higher, right? And if you believe on the first 3 statements that I'm making, the way you need to adapt and innovate the business is very, very important. And if you don't do that, you will not survive and you will close down, right? That is my personal view, right? One quick input on COVID. We have done very extensive studies, but again, this is an evolving situation. I don't think COVID is going to go away anytime soon. Maybe it may take even another 1.5, 2 to 3 years. And even after that, it will not be a recovery and a permanent recovery to a normal state. It is most probably going towards a situation in which you will have multiple waves of COVID coming in, and then you open up the economy and then it will spread. Again, you close the economy, then it will come down, and I'm expecting this pattern to continue, which means that if people are expecting things to change and then the business will become normal and I start behaving appropriately, I think that is a mistake. You may have to start assuming that what is happening today is your normal day-to-day life, and trying to adapt to the current situation may be a better way of managing your own business, right? Now, another quick input is, if you look at the impact of COVID, whatever is non-essential like air travel, tourism, hotel has completely got impacted. 60 to 80% of them got eliminated in the last 2 to 3 years. Essential services like public administration, defense, healthcare, education are almost remaining. and anything that is related to connectivity like media, telecom, that has significantly improved. So while COVID is significantly impacting every business, the impact is very, very different across various sectors, right? Another very quick input is, while we obviously can see a very cleaner and safer environment, we have done very extensive studies, and of all the new activities that has moved towards digital channels, 75% of them will remain even after COVID has gone. What I'm saying is, if you think that many things that has become digital, it will go back to normal business after COVID, that is not correct. Only 25% of them will go back to what it used to be. 75% of what has moved towards digital will remain digital going forward. And approximately 50 to 60% of work from home will continue. That is again based on a very extensive study. So let us say before COVID and versus today, 100 jobs have become working from home. Out of that 100 jobs that has become working from home, 50 to 60% will remain working from home versus going back to the office, which also indicates a very fundamental change in how we are going to work and how we need to manage people going forward, right? Now, just to tell you, I did make a very strong statement that eliminating human intervention has significantly improved value for business. Let me not get into some theoretical stuff, but let me just give you very simple examples that you can very easily relate to. Take the case of Ola, right, or Uber, right? Before that, we used to use normal taxis. I would have liked to have this like a Q&A, but let me just give you some inputs and we can have the Q&A later. I don't know whether you know the statistics of taxis before Ola came in. Before Ola came in, around 40% of the times, the taxis are roaming around looking for people. Now with Ola, around 90 to 90% of the time, the taxis are occupied, which means around 30 to 40% of the taxis that were required are getting eliminated because of digitalization, right? And I'm right now in Trivandrum. For me to go from the airport to home, it used to cost me around 400 to 500 rupees. Today, I'm able to do that for 200 rupees, which is half the price. And don't assume that Ola is making loss. That is a wrong thing. It is because a taxi that used to make 2 to 3 trips from the airport to home today is making 7 to 8 trips because it is completely digitalized, right? So just a simple taxi business, the cost of providing the business has reduced to half. The drivers are getting significantly higher income, and the value of the business has at least doubled. So somebody used to make 1,000 rupees income is now able to make 2,000 rupees income, right? Just for a simple taxi business. And I can give the same example across multiple businesses, right? And going forward, I now explained to you a very simple taxi business, but what really happens is not just the saving of 30 to 40% taxis and the 30 to 40% savings of drivers. Technically, when you're eliminating the taxis that is roaming around the road, which is not utilized, you can save 30 to 40% of the road infrastructure. If you need 10 kilometers of road, going forward, you need only 6 kilometers of road. And so the savings is not just the taxis and the drivers, it is the infrastructure, which is a significant investment from a government perspective. I'm just giving you one example to show that the importance of digitalizing and eliminating human intervention. The businesses are creating significant value, and I'm just trying to explain to you why it will continue. And from an HR perspective, you need to accept a philosophy by which repetitive, predictable activities will be replaced. Human beings will not be doing it. It will be done by machines or artificial intelligence, and people will be doing only value-added activities. Again, taking the example of Ola, maybe if somebody had 10 taxis, you need one phone attendant to manage 10 taxis, routing taxis. Now it is all digitally done. And you may need one person to still handle the digital system, but you can handle maybe 100 taxis, 200 taxis. You see, the efficiencies are improving significantly, right? I can give another example for a healthcare, for a hospital, right? We did a very elaborate study for a hospital, and we have found out that 30% of the visits that are being made to the hospitals are not required. 30% of the time, You don't even have to go to the hospital. You talk to the hospital. They will prescribe things over the phone or a video call. The medicine is sent to you. You take the medicine and you're cured, right? What it means is the same hospital is able to attend to at least 50% more patients, right? And for you to get a treatment, the cost of the treatment is becoming half. Again, that is possible because you're trying to eliminate human intervention. You're not going to the hospital, registering yourself, waiting in the queue, waiting for 1 hour for the hospital doctor to give you an appointment. Everything is digitally done. The doctor may be calling you over a video call, talking to you, prescribing the medicine. Medicine is couriered, or Uber or a Ola is delivering the medicine to you. You see what I'm saying? Again, the human intervention is so minimal. It is just a video call with the doctor, or maybe he has to take the temperature. There are machines supplied at home which can take the temperature, and then you're getting treated. You see, 1/10 of the past effort is sufficient to treat a patient today, right? The same thing I can give you for hotel, restaurants, or buildings. For today, there are systems have been implemented. When you reach your own building, the lift comes down, the air conditioning is automated, that there is savings on electricity, the door opens, the curtains opens and closes. You can take a very simple, I can go on and give you multiple examples, but I don't want to get into that. I would like to go into Q&A. Take the restaurant business today. Earlier, if a restaurant used to service 10 meals, today they are able to service 20 to 30 meals, because instead of occupying the restaurant space, you're occupying the space in your own home, by which the restaurant is able to supply 20 to 30% of the business. Again, the whole thing is getting automated. You're placing an order through online. The hotel is receiving the order online. The hotel is sending the food through an automated vehicle. It comes home and it delivers your food. There is completely human intervention is almost eliminated in the transaction. Only the cooking is handled by human intervention. Again, versus what used to happen, around 50% of the human intervention is eliminated, right? Again, I can give you many more examples. Let me just try to give you a quick summary on what it may mean from an HR perspective, right? You have to start understanding that you will not have a steady team that is working with you continuously. People will be working from very, very flexible locations. They will not come to the office. You will not be working with the same team. The team will regularly change, and the location of the team will change. The capability, you will have to continuously train and upgrade a team. The team will have to rotate. You will not have the same taxi drivers that are servicing you today. You will not have the same hotels that are servicing you today. Your customers are very, very dynamic. Everything is very online, which means that the steadiness that you had in your employee, the work they are doing, the team they are forming, that is going to be very, very flexible going forward versus what used to happen in the past. And you still need to maintain the human relationship, the softer aspects you need to still maintain in this very flexible, agile, changing environment, right? Number one. Number two, if you understand very clearly what I'm saying is that the lowest end of the people today in the value chain will be much more intelligent and capable people, because the repetitive, predictable work is getting replaced by machines, which means every human being is going to do very high value added activities, which means you need to allow them to take decisions. In the past, you can just tell them what to do, right? Again, I'm repeating what I'm saying, and it is very important from an HR perspective. In the past, when you're hiring people, you are telling them what to do, and you can predict the work, and you can train them to do some work. What I said in the beginning of this discussion is that anything that you can instruct, anything that you can predict, anything that you can request to be done, you don't need human beings anymore. It is going to be done by machines. You see, so human beings are going to start doing things that cannot be predicted, which means how do you train them? How can you instruct them what to do? You cannot do that anymore. You need to trust people. You need to train people to take decisions. The organization structure should allow the lowest level people to take a decision and continue, which is very, very different versus what we used to do in the past, right? Uncertainty is very certain, which means your manpower will keep changing continuously. a very good organization should be able to hire and train people continuously, because you will not have a steady state of people, right? Physical and mental well-being should be proactively monitored and managed. In Arthur D. Little, for example, we have many programs that we do online. We have online games. We have to do yoga. We have to cook. We have to drink. We have to eat breakfast. We have to sing. We do a lot of activities that we used to do physically together as a group. We do it online. It may sound very funny to you, but we had to do that to encourage the personal relationship between people. The weekend is a Friday and Saturday in the Middle East. So every Thursday we used to have office breakfast. Now every Thursday morning we get together, we order breakfast, we charge it to the company, and we eat breakfast as a team, even though we are in different time zones. So it may be lunch someplace, it may be dinner someplace, it may be breakfast sometimes, but we have a meal together. We sing together, we cook and display what we have cooked. We give good awards, we do exercises, we do yoga. We have we play games. We have competitive games over the video, right? And you may not believe that we even do that with clients. We'll tell clients that let us have a coffee. And the client said, Thomas, you are sitting in India. I said, I'm talking about having a coffee over the video chat, right? That client says, Thomas, it sounds very funny. No, so no, we need to have that, because when we were giving you consultancy, we were telling you what to do. We used to have coffee chats. We used to have meetings in between, casual meetings during our official meetings. And we need to continue doing that, because some of the things that we are discussing in official meetings cannot be, that is not sufficient for you to take a decision, right? So also the reward system has to fundamentally change. You cannot give a lot of importance to individual performance. You need to give importance to collective team spirit, and collective results has to be rewarded going forward. Otherwise, the whole system will collapse, right? And as I mentioned to you, while you have significant savings of 30 to 40% by digitalizing everything, there can be a tendency to keep all the money with you. Just to give you one example of Arthur D. Little, you may not believe that our business, the profit of Arthur D. Little has become more than double during COVID, more than double. Let me just give you one simple example. In consulting, approximately half of the cost is related to compensation and half of the cost is related to flying and staying in hotels and all of that, right? So that has completely got saved. Now, there is one way to take all the savings and the partners can keep the money versus spending it on people. So you have to be very careful that the additional benefits that you're getting because you're having a digital environment, you should not try to keep it within the shareholders or the owners. You need to spend it for the well-being of the people, keep them entertained, keep them collaborative, give them a lot of facilities to keep the whole team spirit enabled, right? I will leave it at this, and I will wait I will want to have some of the questions that you may have, and we can go through a further discussion. I do have much more material to present, but my preference is to listen to you and give some quick responses to some of the queries that you may have, right?
Yes, sir. We have a lot of interesting questions. So first question we have is from Subodip Sarkar. He is giving you the greetings, and his question is, when uncertainty filters down to employees, productivity suffers. Staff can't be expected to perform at their best if they are worried about their jobs or safety. So how can this challenge be handled by the leadership of organization and improve the productivity of employees?
See, first of all, you cannot make their job uncertain. You cannot. And you don't have to. See, the problem is today, the work that people used to do is not required, and hence we are firing them, and hence they are very worried. That is a wrong philosophy. What we should be telling our people is that you are required, the job is certain, but the type of job that you are required to do is going to be very different. So you are not making their job uncertain. You are telling them that what you will do is uncertain. We know that, we appreciate that. We will facilitate you to do an uncertain job. We will not be upset with you if you make mistakes because you are doing it for the first time. We will educate you, we will train you, we will reward you for handling this uncertain jobs. So you see, so you cannot make the fact that you don't have a job or your job is uncertain. That is a very bad way of running the business. You should make their job certain. At the same time, you should tell them that what you do is going to be uncertain, because whatever is certain is going to be given to a machine. But the point is that since the low value added jobs that you used to do is given to a machine, the value of the jobs that you are going to do is going to be much higher. We are going to give you a higher remuneration for the time you spend, not for the job, because the job is not the same. So a same person, instead of feeling unhappy and uncertain and feeling worried about his job, you should be telling them that, guy, hello, lady, we are going to train you to do something more valuable. And if you are willing to adapt to a new job, if you're willing to listen to the training, you will be happy. You can work from home. You can be flexible. Your output will be better, and you will be remunerated much better than the past. You see? But if somebody is not willing to learn, then I'm not unhappy. If he's unhappy, he's unhappy. I don't care about such people. I'm very blunt. So for genuine people who are willing to learn, willing to adapt, it is genuinely a good situation, because you are flexible. You can work at home. Obviously, you have to keep a working environment in the home. You cannot keep working from your bedroom or from the kitchen, right? You need to start creating a suitable work environment in your house, right? I have created an office space. It is isolated. I cannot have the disturbances coming in, right? So you will have the flexibility of work environment. You can spend time with your family. Mentally, you are technically supposed to be healthier. You will be much more focused in your job. You will do much better value added work. You will be remunerated higher. You see? So in my view, if adapted and educated correctly, people should be more happier if they have the right attitude. It is not more negative. I disagree with it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your answer. And Mr. Sudeep, I think your question was answered. We have the next question from Rakat Bakshi. He's saying the move to a remote or hybrid workplace, a necessity during the pandemic, is becoming a long-term strategy for many. If the move to remote is not accompanied by proper planning, those working from home can become disconnected and disengaged. How can the leadership handle this challenge of keeping the employees connected successfully through remote workforce?
See, I may have to repeat what I said. See, let me tell you what we have done in Arthur D. Lit and what we are asking clients to do, right? We actually request the teams to leave their video and audio on during working hours, but we give them flexibility. So in the past, let us say we used to work from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 in the evening. We say that's not required because we also want to give you flexibility, right? So we say every employee, at least for 4 to 5 hours, you decide on your own team, because somebody is sitting in London, somebody is sitting in US, somebody is sitting in India, somebody is sitting in Riyadh, right? So you tell them, my dear team members, decide on the 3 to 4 hours that you will leave your video and audio on. You don't have to be talking to each other, but you need to have the team spirit, number one. There are a lot of activities that we do online. As I told you, we actually request people to we have drinks, for example. We have breakfast sessions. We have team events. We actually do exercises. We actually had a very interesting event that we concluded along with the Olympics. Every person was given an Apple Watch by the company. The company gave an Apple Watch to everybody, and this is connected on the system. And all of us have to do exercises. It is mandatory, right? And there's a competition between people. So I can see all my colleagues who is running, who is jogging, who is doing yoga, and the Apple Watch is connected to the iPhone. In the iPhone, I can see all the 140 employees. Whoever does more exercise, we get an award, like he gets an iPhone or an iPad. So there is competition between colleagues. And if somebody is not active up to 250 calories, HR will call them and say, Thomas, we did not see 250 calories activity with you. It is not fine. And I don't know whether it is good or bad. We have even included that in their performance appraisal. It may sound very funny. So if somebody is not active and not moving around, and the Apple Watch catches that and sends it to the system, HR will call them, Thomas, You don't seem to be moving around. You're sitting at home. It's not healthy for you. If you don't start moving, you will have a negative, bonus in your evaluation. But the purpose, don't look at it negative. We are trying to ask them, why are you not healthy? Are you in an environment that you cannot, right? For example, I'm in Kerala and it is raining all the time. So I told them 2 days it is raining. So they told me, Thomas, we will give you a yoga teacher. So they appointed a yoga teacher. He will do online yoga sessions with me. I can do it indoor. I don't have to go outdoor, right? So don't look at it penalty in a very negative fashion. It is more like we genuinely want to encourage you to be healthy, right? So again, the way the questions are being asked, we are framing it in a very negative fashion. That is not the way to do it. You have to look at it in a very positive fashion. There are a lot of benefits out of it. People working in Bangalore and Delhi and Bombay, you spend 2 to 3 hours commuting home and work in the traffic and pollution. This is a joke. Like if you remember one of the pictures I showed you, the pollution level has come down, right? I'm not at all arguing that there are no negative effects from working from home. I'm not arguing that, because that will sound very stupid and Thomas is hiding some of the facts. There are negative aspects of it, but we have genuinely made the positive aspects more than the negative aspects. We have a very healthy environment. And cooking, you may find that how do you have cooking competition? So we give award for the best looking dish. You cannot taste it. So you have to decorate the food and you have a competition and we vote each other, and whoever has the best looking dish gets an award, right? And the awards are not simple. We give awards which is worth $1,000 $2 to 3 lakhs. Because we are saving that, because they don't travel. If they travel and they stay in a hotel, the hotel will cost you 50,000 rupees a day. And we are telling people, guys, don't think AD is trying to save that flight charges from you. We are not trying to make money out of you. You do yoga. If you run for 10 kilometers, we give you a prize, headphone. We give you an iPad. We allow you to go for a vacation to Maldives. We gave vacations for people to go to Maldives for 1 week, right? So we try to tell them that don't get a wrong impression that we are very happy about savings money, that you're not traveling. We are saving that money. We are giving it to you for having a very healthy life. You see, so you have to make it very positive. And it does actually become very positive, right? Yeah. Yes, and not only that, just to give you some more example, you're actually able to do much more work, right? So for example, before COVID, I was able to do maximum 4 meetings in a day, 4 to 5 meetings, because physical meetings. In the morning, you do 2 to 3 meetings. In the afternoon, you do 2 to 3, 4 meetings. Now I can do 8 to 10 meetings. You see what I'm saying? So either I'm more productive or I have more time to do. I can continue having only 6 meetings and I can do some other thing. I can watch movies. I can read something. I can entertain myself more than what I used to do in the past, right? Like when you asked me, Thomas, can you conduct a session? I immediately said yes. We are only agreeing on the timing, right? Earlier, I had to check, I have to fly down. So half of the similar sessions that I'm doing today, I used to give only half of similar sessions because I need to find out that I have to fly from Dubai. I have to block 1 or 2 days to come and give a half an hour session like what I'm doing today. Today, whoever asks for a session, I say, yes, I am happy to do it because I just need to plan and find a suitable time for us to do it. So there are very, very positive outcomes from what is happening now. And we need to look at it that way. Yeah. Yes.
So lots of interesting ideas implemented at your firm. I hope everyone could take tips from it. So we have lots of questions pouring in. So what would you want to do? You want to continue with the session or go with the Q&A ahead?
I am happy to continue because I don't know if I don't want to be unfair to the next speaker to eat into his time. I'm available. I have kept myself free. So up to you.
Okay, so then we'll take another question. This question is from Jenu Janyan. They are saying, thank you, sir, for taking time off your day to speak with us. You spoke about eliminating human intervention using AI. With the current global electronic chip shortage growing day by day, therefore increasing the prices of computers that would execute the AI commands, is it going to be feasible for the businesses looking to deploy AI technologies?
Oh, absolutely. See, everything that I told you is more midterm and longer term, right? I am not so all these things are very short-term issues, right? So this is a short-term issue, right? The manufacturing will quickly catch up, and within 6 months to 1 year, the shortage will be addressed, right? and introducing artificial intelligence and all of that is not something that can be done in 2 to 3 months or something like that. So I completely agree with the concern that is raised, but that is very short term. We cannot adapt businesses and HR and all of that to short term requirements. That's a separate issue, right? So it is a valid issue, but a very short term issue to get addressed, in my view. Yeah. So we should not be worried saying that, oh, because of shortage of chips, human intervention cannot be eliminated. That is a wrong conclusion, right? That is a very temporary issue.
Okay, sir. So the next question is from Aman Sharma. The question goes like, boosting employee morale through a pandemic was always going to be a tough task. Pandemic and work from home fatigue have set in, and restoring energy will take effort. For some, it is more than just the tiredness of work from home, but increased stress leading to exhaustion. What are the moves that leadership can make to keep up the employees' morale?
See, you have to be very, very genuinely allowing people to share feedback. The problem is that, see, in R30, I'm just using examples because I have implemented few things, right? So that's why I'm trying to give more examples, and I've done that even for clients also. You have to make it very clear that when people are complaining about fatigue, you will not get upset with them. The biggest issue today in HR is, or general employment is, when people are complaining, instead of encouraging the complaints and trying to address them, you somehow give them an impression that you're getting upset, that you're feeling fatigue. You should say, come on guys, it is COVID, what am I supposed to do? You will feel fatigue, you have to work from home, you're unhappy, what am I supposed to do? That's a very upsetting way to handle the situation. You should sympathize with them, saying that, okay, why are you feeling stressed, right? So today, if you think people are stressed, only half of them are telling you that they are stressed. You don't even know how stressed they are, because I have a view that not even 50% of the people are telling about their stress. 50 people of them are just keeping quiet and they're burned out, right? So from an HR perspective, from a management perspective, you have to be extremely genuine and transparent and tell them, we are genuinely trying our best to address the issues you're facing, the stress you have. Maybe you are overworked because you are online, people expect you to be online, and say, no, don't do that. We have actually implemented systems in ADL saying that, guys, we will penalize you if you check emails between 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock in the evening. We tell them, don't reply. Even if if a partner sends you an email, a junior staff, you should not reply. If you reply, we will penalize you, right? So you can tell me, Thomas, I can send an email, right? As a partner in charge, I can decide to work, but I'm explicitly telling them that don't reply to me immediately. I'm allowing you not to reply. I'm even going to penalize you if you reply in the midnight. I don't want you to work like that. And if they tell you that, Thomas, I'm feeling stressed, then we have to talk to them. Why are you feeling stressed? Because there is a lot of disturbance at home. Okay, fine. So what we did is, some people have a lot of disturbance at home. We took an office space next to their house, right? In Kerala, I'm talking about Kerala, for example, in Trivandrum, you can get an office space for 10,000 rupees a month. 10,000 rupees a month, which is like nothing. Technically, for the job we are doing. I'm not saying it is nothing for it, but considering our job. So we told people to take an office space next to your home, go there in the morning, and you work from there if you feel so instead of telling them that, oh, you should try to make it work in your own home, and then you're trying to save the 10,000 rupees, and people will get more stressed, you see. So you have to genuinely put yourself in their shoes and try to address why they are feeling stressed. And you have to genuinely address it. And if you do this, the problem that you're facing will not happen, right?
Yes, sir. So the audience is very intrigued by your session. More and more questions are pouring in. Yeah.
Let me just give you a few things that we did, right? So when people said that we are feeling stressed, we said, why are you doing that? Okay, because okay. So then we asked them, what do you want to do as a hobby? So somebody said, Thomas, I would like to learn music. Somebody said, I would like to learn a language. Somebody said, I want to learn how to play piano. We said, okay, we are insisting that you go for those programs for 2 hours every day. You see? So people are feeling happy, saying that in the past, before COVID, nobody asked us, what do you want to do? You want to read something? You want to play piano? You want to play something? Now the company is telling us that please do that. You see? So they are getting a feeling that we are very, very genuine about their mental well-being. Because Earlier, because you're traveling, you are getting distracted, you are in touch with the world, you're going to multiple airports, multiple hotels, seeing a lot of people. So even if you don't play piano, you're still getting de-stressed in this environment, traveling, sitting in the airport, talking to people and all of that. Now we know we are getting stressed. So we tell them, what do you want to read? Okay, every day you should read from 8 to 10, some novels that you wanted to do. You see what I'm saying? So again, it is pure, in my view, it is purely the attitude, the sincere attitude the management will take the employees can make it very positive versus the negative feeling that we are having today. It is purely bad management, nothing else, or bad HR. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So given the paucity of time, we'll take one last question. And this question is pretty different and interesting. It's from Manoj Gaur, and the question goes like this. With attrition rates as high as 15 to 20% in certain businesses, how are the talent strategies being reimagined to address the industry's employee retention issues? And what are the strategic levers which can be used to tackle the issues related to retention?
See, you will have to spend a lot more time and budget in continuously training people, right? See, why is that? The short-term retention, you cannot, and I'm sorry to say, because I'm not trying to address short-term issues, because short-term issues, you will go through the space, people will lose jobs. It is sad and you cannot do much, right? And I don't want to address short-term issues, compromising long-term issues, because you will always go through these phases, right? So why are people leaving jobs is, see, as I said, in the medium term, the output will increase because you're creating a lot more value. The GDP will increase. It's only going down in the short term. And you will need people to do all these jobs, high value added jobs, right? So to ensure that people are not out of job, you need to have a very elaborate training or capability building scheme within the organization. And the training should not be more towards very specific functional or domain expertise. It is more about intelligence, flexibility, adaptability, good human interactions, mental well-being, and all of that. You see where I'm coming from. Because what we think is important today may not be important 5 years from now. Forget about that. In the past, when we look at telecom companies, we used to say, oh, you have done telecom for 10 years. What you did 5 years back is irrelevant. The whole telecom sector has changed. So it's, oh, I know somebody who was very good in energy companies. Guys, what was relevant 15 years back is irrelevant. Oil and gas is gone. It is renewable. It is solar now. So there was no solar 15 years back. You see what I'm saying? So, and if we think that we can predict that solar will be important 15 years from now, we are bullshitting ourselves. Because when we said that oil is important, we thought we are very smart. Today, we think we are very smart and we're saying solar is going to be important. We are not. We just don't know, right? And we don't admit that we don't know something. So we think that we know in the future. The same idiots like us 15 years back said we know everything. And today we realize we did not know anything. And today, again, the same stupidity is continuing. We say, I know what is going to happen in the next 15 years. It's bullshit. We don't know actually what is happening, right? So as long as that you accept that it cannot be predicted, you don't know what is going to happen in the world after 10, 15 years. And you have to adapt, train, coach, educate people so that they will not lose jobs. That is how you need to reorient this. In the short term, people will lose jobs. There is no other way because the pandemic has come in, the output has come down. You don't have so many jobs, people will lose job, and the government has to handle that. Private individuals cannot do it. And unfortunately, I don't have a solution for that. But these are short-term issues, right? Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Given the paucity of time, we have a hard stop. I wish we could continue more. But nevertheless, the session was very intriguing and informative. And thank you everyone for your questions. And thank you, sir, for addressing and giving valuable insight on leadership's role in adapting to the work ecosystem and also aligning with the new digital paradigm. We hope that this session has been an insightful experience for all. We now request you to join the respective breakout rooms where you can network with each other for 10 minutes. And also, before joining the breakout room, we will be launching a poll. I urge everyone to vote and then proceed to the networking break. Thank you, everyone.
Very good. Again, last input, I am available on LinkedIn, and I'm very happy to connect with anybody. You can just look for Thomas Kuruvilla, Arthur D. Little, and I'm happy to continue any one-to-one discussions in case anybody is interested. Yeah. And thank you very much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed the discussion. Thank you very much. Best wishes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. We are very happy to host you here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Recording in progress.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope the networking break was fruitful. Next up is a very fascinating keynote session by Ms. Uma Rao, VP Human Resources at Ashok Leyland Limited and CEO Gulf Ashley Motors Limited. Ms. Rao, currently VP HR, Medium and Heavy Commercial Vehicles at Ashok Leyland and also CEO and board member at Gulf Ashley Motors Limited, is a seasoned HR professional with more than 30 years of experience in multiple sectors like petroleum, IT, telecom, FMCG, and manufacturing. She has also managed mission-critical projects and assignments and provided a strategic perspective to businesses in leading companies such as Ashok Leyland, Mars, IBM, TCS, HPCL, and more. Her area of expertise lies in strategic human resources, talent development, organization health, and leadership development. Ms. Rao was awarded the Women of Excellence Award by the Women Economic Forum 2019, was named in the 100 most influential HR leaders in 2016, and was conferred with the 30 Women Superachievers Award in 2013 by World HRD Congress. She is also a member of Board of Directors at Gulf Ashley Motors Limited. The session will be on the topic Consumerization of HR and Employee Experience. It will be a 30 minutes of keynote speech followed by 10 minutes of Q&A. I would encourage the delegates to put forth their questions in the chat box. Without any further ado, I would now request Ms. Uma Rao to take over the stage and lead us to an invigorating session ahead. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and very good morning to everyone. I heard that you had a lovely keynote session before this. So I'm sure you're much wiser and much more curious to learn more and know more. So firstly, let me wish all the teachers of SIOM a very happy Teachers' Day, because I think because of you, a lot of things happen for the students. I've been a beneficiary of all the lovely teachers I've had in my life, and I'm sure the rest of you would resonate with that feeling. So on that note, wish to thank SIOM and the student group, which has been coordinating with me to get this session going. I'm very grateful that you've chosen today of all days to actually have this session. So let's get started without further ado. And this is a very interesting topic that you all have picked up. So I want to compliment the group for thinking of something like this, yeah? Because we talk about digital, we talk about AI and HR, we talk about a lot of things, but actually what is causing this is what we need to understand. And that's what this session would perhaps aim to be from my end. And I look forward to your questions, as we have said. So the topic is about consumerization of HR. And perhaps for some of you, it appears as if, this is like a marketplace activity, right? Perhaps it does. And I'm saying that if you look at the visual on the screen, here's one individual who's sitting with a whole lot of things around him, which are all on the net. And that typically is the image that should stay in our mind when we talk about consumerization of HR. This is about the whole piece that we talk about as employee experience. Today, if you look at the marketing and sales side of it, the business side of it, people talk a lot about consumer experience. And this today is going to be the flavor of all things that happen in the world as we go forward, because it's the experience more than the product that's going to make a difference to people. Now, let's talk about the consumerization of HR. What does it mean? And how does it lead to anything like the employee experience? So let's move on. If we go to the next slide, can you navigate to the next slide, please? Yeah. So if you look at the visuals, and they'll tell you very clearly what consumerization of HR really means here, right? It's very simple. It's about creating a social, a mobile, and a consumer-style experience for employees. So what it really means to say is, like you have an experience in the online purchasing and things like that, the employee also is looking for services which are almost similar to that and wants to be part of the the organization in a manner that it is so customized and so individual to the person that, they are able to resonate with it rather than a cookie cutter approach that one always was used to for a long, long time, right? So it's about getting that kind of an experience for the individual inside the company. It's about replicating what people see in the marketplace. If you see the visual on the right-hand side, it's an Amazon website that I've just picked. It's like you get into Amazon and then you search for whatever you need, right? You don't go to a different store to purchase, let's say, kitchen fittings. You don't go into a different store to buy clothes. You don't go into a different store to buy footwear. You get into one site, one login, and then everything happens there. And today, this is the biggest need that employees have experienced in terms of what they're looking for when they get into a workplace. So I don't want to perhaps go to 10 places to look at my leave, to look at my eligibility for a study leave, or if I'm looking for a loan for purchasing something. For me, I look for a single sign-on. If I get a single sign-on, that means, life is easy for me to get in and start doing whatever I want to do. Otherwise, it's such a waste of time for me to actually navigate through 10 places to get to where I'm looking for. Now, are we really equipped in this way today? No. Actually, most organizations are not. But many of them are now using technology to get to that point. So it's a Zomato experience or it's an Amazon experience that an employee is looking for at the workplace. And that's a real challenge because organizations never designed themselves like that. And I deal with a lot of people in the blue collar also in the organization, not just the white collar. Let me tell you, the expectations are kind of similar there as well, right? I mean, earlier days, people would not mind standing in a queue to get a PF loan or something like that. Today, they say, can you facilitate processes that we can do it on the mobile? Today, an average workman in the organization comes and says, can we do a lot of these things on the mobile? Because, giving a desktop to them at the shop floor is very difficult. But everybody has a smartphone more or less today, and they want to do their transactions on that. And I think that is what is amazing as far as the organization's evolution is concerned, right? We started somewhere and we have to move to another place altogether. So the key point to understand is what is this concept of consumerization? As it says very clearly, you are looking for a marketplace-like experience in the organization. And the visuals kind of explain to you what this change is going to mean for every organization. So when more so in the current times, if you would have seen, because of the pandemic, a lot of people have been at home and trying to log in from home to do their timesheets or to do their attendance or to log in, their performance or to have the performance discussion with the leaders, etc. And it would be such a sad thing if somebody had to go to 10 places to do what they can easily accomplish in one place. I remember, I worked in TCS. I remember years back, this organization got into a single sign-on. I also worked with Hindustan Petroleum, and I feel really proud to say that being a public sector, where often the perception is that things are going to be slow and things like that, they've gotten to a sign-on way ahead of others. And I think this really is so cool to see how organizations are actually adapting themselves, adopting technology to adapt themselves to the current times and being relevant. So I hope you understand what consumerization of HR really means. So let's move on to the next slide. We'll talk a little more about why is there a need for consumerization. Things are okay, right? There are people to whom you can call up. They'll give you the leave update. Somebody will give you some other requirement you have. Why do you need all this? There's certain factors, there are a lot of phenomena happening in the world. And I think This is something that we need to recognize and understand as organizations. Because if you don't, you are most likely going to miss the bus, of growth, of transition, of transformation. I think all of these things really matter. So why are we looking at consumerization? Everything was fine. People were there, the timesheet, they would pick up the time, the card and tell you the attendance. There are people who sit in front of the computer and take out your details. Why would you need all this consumerization? Why does everything have to be at my fingertips, so to speak? That's interesting. So a few things that, I managed to put there are some things that you may want to see. One is the globalization 2.0 version that is happening right now. There will be a lot of options in front of people as we go forward. And this is the start of that journey, honestly. Many things are going to change over time. So when an individual has a lot of choice, then, how do you make a choice, right? You don't go for the worst, right? You would always go for the best. Best within your own parameters, your own definition of what is best. You would want, perhaps in terms of career, a place of your choice, right? You would want a career with a salary or compensation of your choice. You would want a career which gives you certain benefits. So here's a marketplace which is wide open, and you actually have the ability to go and search and see for yourself as to what is the best thing that is available to you. Now, what does this mean? Well, how is it connected to consumerization of HR? It is very closely connected. When I have the power of choice, I'm going to choose what suits me the best. And then I see, okay, so do you have what I need? And if you don't have what I need, I'll move on. Then I'll go to another place and say, does this place have what I need? Yeah, it has what I need. So I'm going to choose that. So you see, things are going to get more transparent, more open, and companies will be held accountable for the way they run themselves. And one of the important things when it comes to globalization 2.0 is ability to work anywhere, anytime, and still be productive. And for me to be productive, I need certain systems and processes that are going to help me to be productive. And that is really what we're talking about when it comes to consumerization. If I know a particular place has what it takes for me to do well and to concentrate on my job and not keep running around for all frivolous things, then I'm going to most likely choose that place over every other place, right? And therefore, it's very important for us to get our act together as companies and be relevant to the world around us. Yeah. So, as I said, they will have the freedom to make decisions based on their values, also, not necessarily economics. Today, the younger generation, as all of you perhaps feel for your own self, I think they look for things, not just money. Money is important, but they would probably look at a lot of other things, which is going to be fulfilling for them to lead a complete life, right? I mean, if I talk about the children in my own family, I see all of them. They have a different priority. They're not just looking for money. Some degree, so they have a threshold. This is the kind of money I should get. I'm going to do good. And then they look at what are the benefits there. Then they would look at, will you get some time for yourself to do some studies? Is a company going to support you when it comes to these things? These are some of the things that they look at. Then they look at, perhaps opportunities for travel. And then they look at what kind of networking they have and things like that. So they are looking at a lot of things when they actually look for a job. It's not just one thing. And therefore, as you can see in front of you on the screen, this will transform their motives as employees and consumers, lifestyle, recognition, self-expression. Sorry, just a second. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry. I just moved to the laptop because I finally managed to get there. Yeah, just need a second.
No issues, ma'am.
So as I try to get my video, I'll just keep speaking so that we can continue. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am, it is fine.
Yeah, right. So, so what I'm talking about is basically the fact that people's self-expression, their own ethics, etc. All of this is going to play a very important role when it comes to making choices. And people are going to exercise all of these options to make the kind of choices they're looking for. And this is something that we all need to understand very clearly, that it's not going to be what the employer offers necessarily. It is also going to be what people choose in terms of their priorities. And that's something that employers have to understand and should not expect loyalty, as it says. I mean, it doesn't mean that people are not going to be loyal, but it simply says that, like in the olden times, don't expect people to, stick on to whatever you give and accept whatever comes their way, because people's priorities have changed. Many of you would have experienced during this pandemic that, people, there were a lot of weekend couples, right? They would be traveling up and down over the weekend and they would manage their life. But today, I think that is not something people choose to do, because they feel that this is very difficult to manage, because you never know when lockdown is going to be called. You never know when things are going to be changing. And then all of a sudden, one could be in a very tight spot, not being able to get back to the family for a long, long time. And that is something which I think people are more conscious than ever today. And therefore, they will make their choices as to what suits them and not necessarily what is served on the table. Yeah. So this is something which is, again, very important for us to understand. Of course, as I mentioned to you, people are going to be looking at career options in a very different way than they have ever done before. They're going to perhaps look at how things work out for them. Just a second, please. Sorry. Yeah. And then firms will need to get closer to their market and workforces than ever before. Anybody who thinks that they're insulated in the current situation and can actually do things according to their own way will not happen. What happens to the sales and distribution piece? There's a big rush to be closer to the marketplace, to the dealers, to the consumers, to the customers. Why do we have to do that? Because you have to have the ear to the ground when it comes to servicing your customers. You can't be distant and you can't be expecting to do good things for them. The companies spend enormously on market research and getting closer to the customer, because the whole idea is to say that, okay, you need to listen to them, you need to have the ears to the ground, and then only things happen, right? And that is really the philosophy that comes into the employee space as well. You have to do exactly that in terms of getting closer to your customers and looking at how you're going to be managing life with them and your products. You also need to understand every worker and customer as an individual. Yeah. Otherwise, you lose out on talent and business, as it says. Because, just because you're a class, let's say all of you students are in a class, I don't believe that all of you have the same aspirations. You must be having different aspirations in your life, right? And that is something which people will need to understand, that your aspirations are going to change according to your own situation. Agile organizations will seize on the marketplace, and then they look at the opportunities and they will capture the need of an employee. So take the case of the pandemic, for example, right? People were, all organizations had the same opportunity. But how come that some organizations cashed in on it a lot better than the others? What did they do? For example, some of the organizations you may have seen actually went around to provide certain kind of leave for people. Yeah. And they said, take some leave to relax, take some leave to kind of unwind yourself because you've had a lot of digital toxicity, right? It's all the time sitting in front of the computer is not a great idea. So take some time off, because you're so stressed out. Now, other organizations have not done that. There are organizations which have shut down the office the workplace for 2 days or 3 days, or they've decided to give 1 day off as a digital detox. Everyone has the same opportunities, but some people cash in on it much better than the others. And that is what this consumerization of HR is all about. Yeah. Smart employees, they say, will design ways of working to suit individuals, not the organization. And how true is that? My situation could be very different from the situation somebody else is in. So why am I expected to do exactly what the other person is doing? Allow me to do things in a very different way altogether, which suits me, right? For example, I may want to work from a particular time to a particular time. As long as your work and deliverables don't get compromised, why would you worry at all about, whether I have come in at 9 o'clock or not? So this 9 to 5 organizations, one has seen the slow death of them. And trust me, friends, when I tell you, this is also in the manufacturing sector. Right? No one ever imagined an organization like where I am today, the heavy commercial vehicle, the medium commercial vehicle would actually have anything like a work from home. I remember the days when we had to struggle to get the Saturday off, saying that, a 5-day work is more productive, for example. And it was quite it was quite a journey to actually get that happening. And now to have a situation where you think that you can actually change each individual's work pattern, I think it's really great. Yeah. And therefore, what does it mean? More flexibility. It means less centralized power, flatter structures, ability to take decisions on the ground and get moving. So this is the reason, these are some of the reasons why consumerization of HR is required. Now, for those who are stuck in the warp of time and feel that this is not something that is required, I think those organizations are going to have it very, very difficult as they go forward. Because, as I told you, the very first point is, people can discover a wide range of career options suited to themselves. And people are willing. And the whole world has seen that you can be productive being flexible. And why would you not want to do that? Why would you want to lose that opportunity completely? So that's why, we need. So we understood what is consumerization, the marketplace-like experience. Now we've understood what is a need for consumerization. Let's go ahead and talk about what trends are there in consumerization. So if you look at the trends, you can see that picture in the middle, which is about, an orchestra, right? That picture is an orchestra. People are playing different instruments over there. And so what it says is these 5 elements that you see in front of you, the physical, emotional, intellectual, virtual, and aspirational elements, if you put them together and, create a situation for the employees to feel absolutely inspired at the workplace, that is where you give that great workplace experience to the individual. So, physically, I feel very nice being there. I have time to take care of myself. And, the whole ergonomics, for example, in a manufacturing organization, the ergonomics is such that, I don't sort of end up feeling so stressed out handling the machines. They're all pneumatic controlled machines, for example. So I have a workplace that takes care of my health, physical being, right? I have a workplace where I have good friendships, trusting relationships, and emotionally, I feel very fulfilled to work in a group like this. So that's something that makes me very inspired. Then I look at the intellectual quotient and I say, look, here is a place where I'm constantly learning, right? I have great role models to look up to. I'm constantly learning. And therefore, this is a great workplace for me. And I want to come here every single day. I used to work in IBM for a while. And let me tell you, they had this Hall of Fame that they had put together where Nobel laureates and other people who did some fabulous work in IBM over the years is put up over there, and you can actually walk through. Whenever you feel a little bit of self-doubt or you're not feeling that great, walk into that place and you say, okay, these are the kind of people who've been here, who've done some outstanding stuff. Let me get back and do what I'm supposed to do. So it really inspires when you see a lot of intellectual power within the organization. Virtual, obviously, nothing can be limited to a physical situation of seeing people face to face. A virtual world where you can connect with a lot of people, it gives you a lot of inspiration to see, because you may not have all the people sitting in front of you, but the fact that at the click of a button, you're able to reach out to everyone who you ever wanted to in the organization, I think this is absolutely remarkable, as I can see. Yeah. And then, of course, we talk about the aspirational part of it, which I've talked about. A company which has got a great mission, a great vision. You feel inspired to reach to that point. Long back, Tata Steel used to have its tagline as, we also make steel, right? I mean, it's amazing. This organization stands for people, community, wants to do good for its employees, and their main business is making steel, but they say, we also make steel, right? So, and of course, those taglines change over time, looking at the flavor of the organization, but some of these things is, an organization with a bias for action, just do it, Nike. Yeah, that here is a place where you can jump in and then probably put in your ideas and whatever you want to do, because the organization is open enough to accept it. And that, I think, is the hallmark of a place which makes it aspirational for somebody to join, right? Can we just have a click on that, because there's something more? Yeah. So this is very important, yeah, to understand. When you go to a shop today, right? I hope people are going back to the shops now, because it's been a long time since the lockdown happened. But just remember the times before that. There is a lot of display techniques that are there. People who have done marketing will understand, or even otherwise as a consumer, you will understand. So sometimes you see on the shelf, it's a chocolate and a cake. So is it a cake or is it a chocolate, right? Sometimes you don't understand what this is. And that's how the blurring of product lines has happened over time. And today, that blurring of marketing and HR is happening, and happening in a big way, right? I mean, so many people say, HR is not like marketing. And I'm saying, no, guys, get it right. HR is so much about marketing. Marketing is not just about a product. It's about a service. It's about a concept. It's about a philosophy. Yeah, everything gets into this. So what we have seen is, people actually have gone beyond this blurring of HR and marketing, and they've combined HR and marketing under the direction of one individual many times. And I think this is amazing. Companies can begin to merge HR and marketing on key projects. For example, in my own organization, we have got a communication organization, which is not an HR, but we work very closely with them for talent acquisition brochures that we do, campaigns that we run, or the whole employer branding activities that we do, or the goal setting that we cascade across the company. We use a lot of these. Or whenever we run our key recognition programs, we come together beautifully well to leverage on each other's strength and bring great value to the employee, who at the end is our consumer, right? So this is something which people have to understand. So how does workplace turn into a great experience? And how can you accentuate that experience by bringing marketing and HR together to ensure that you present things in a right way to the people. Okay, today it's a world of consumerization. It's a world of consumerization for the employee as well, right? What I find attractive is what I'm going to go after. What I think useful is what I'm going to go after. But if I don't even know what exists, then what am I going to go after? And maybe some other company which presents things in a much better way is what's going to attract my attention, and I would like to move there. So can't afford to lose your talent for reasons like this. Yeah, so that's very important. Let's move on. Some more trends we've got. Okay, another trend that we see here is employees become your brand advocates, right? When you feel great about your workplace, then you absolutely want to go ahead and tell the whole world about how great a place it is. And you would have seen many companies put testimonials of their employees on their website, and they say, this is great about this company, and I had a great onboarding, or, I had a great mentor, or I got a fantastic growth. So people come and give you those testimonials and speak about the company. You don't need, a film star or a sports person to come and do this for you. Your own employees are your biggest brand ambassador. And frankly speaking, if other people in the marketplace would feel happier to listen to someone who's real and their experiences than perhaps a film star who may have nothing to do with the company and just comes to promote a product, right? So that's how the trends are changing. 49% of the people believe that companies' employee rank higher in perception than the CEO, founder, and PR. And today, if you see all these places like Glassdoor and others are actually very important when you make a career decision. People go there, check it out, see what the people who are there or are still there have to say about the company, and then they decide. It's not about one CEO. One CEO who's great may be able to build a great team, but you have to work with a lot of co-workers, and you have to ensure that this is really a great place to be. 50% of employees already share content about the company on their social channels. And importantly, they actually promote the company more than anybody else, right? 58% believe that socially engaged employees are more likely to attract new talent to the company. And that may be true with a lot of you who are young, aspiring to get into organization. You would want to get into a place where people are feeling great. Every day they're feeling great. Every day they're feeling charged to be able to do something, right? Enter, please. Then you have about the workplace flexibility. That's a new norm, yeah? So workers value flexibility over almost anything else. And when I say workers, it's anybody, right? 66% of the global millennials felt that an organization which adopts a flexible mobile and remote work model has a better competitive advantage versus a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. kind of a job, which we talked about. So these are some of the trends that one gets to see. And I'm saying that companies which don't leverage the power of its own people in terms of being the best brand ambassadors are losing big time, because a big full-page newspaper ad will do nothing to you. If people inside say, oh my God, this place sucks, I'm not going to work in a place like this. So I think this is something that is very important. And then, of course, where retaining top talent, as I said, is very, very difficult. Getting people to stay by changing the ways of working of the organization, I think this is the best thing to do rather than sticking into something. And I remember I have transitioned over a long time from the past where the practices where everybody had to sit in front to today when it's a remote workplace. I have been doing this remote working for quite some time with my teams who are globally assigned. And trust me, nothing really goes wrong. It's about how we connect. It's about how we, attach sanctity to our work to be able to be absolutely bang on when it comes to deliverance. Let's move on. A little more on the trends. Today, hackathons are being used to reimagine HR, right? And hackathons can happen across the world. So again, going back to IBM, we used to have this innovation week where the whole organization, the 3 lakh plus at that point in time, would come together on this, online platform to ideate. And the ideations would be taken forward for implementation. to even to suggest a new name for a product, to suggest a new logo, to suggest a new tagline. The power of group is terrific. And this is one way to use it in terms of hackathons, which is, of course, for more serious purposes, like looking at the design of a product or the value proposition of a product and things like that. Today, it's all possible because we are able to do this virtually and in many other ways. So these are some examples you can see. At LinkedIn, SVP for Global Talent actually used the hackathon model to identify ways to reinvent HR from outside of HR, right? Because when I'm always in the function, I will always look at it perhaps in a particular way. But the moment I get a wider perspective of people, the whole game changes dramatically. So what did this person do? Rather than pull together a group of HR professionals, Wader, who was the SVP for Global Talent, brought together a group of millennials like all of you who worked as interns in Silicon Valley and to participate in the HR hackathon. And imagine what this hackathon would have done. Got all the new age relevant HR practices, which the millennials would just swallow right away and get into those organizations. So what can be better than crowdsourcing through the virtual medium to actually do what you have to do? And why was all this done? Because we want the best talent. We want the right talent, and we want the talent to stay, not just come in. We want them to stay. And the winning team therefore created an app to tackle the problem of unsatisfactory internship experiences by allowing the interns to give and receive feedback from management, right? And so this is absolutely amazing because internships, as you know, in US are very serious business. They have to be paid, number one, and they often end up with placements after that. And therefore, this organization's there and the LinkedIn helped in getting a lot of seriousness into the whole internship process. What do you say about that? If you really want to change something, there are ways and means of doing it. And the other part of it is the whole gamification. Now, we tried gamification of HR. For our campus recruitment, about 2 years back, we started this. We got into a complete virtual setup for the individual to get into an experience, and all the questions that were asked and all the exams happened, tests happened inside that gamified environment, and people never realized it. They were just enjoying it. And at the end of it, it got over. And they said, oh, it's over. Oh, my God, it's over. Yeah. But compare that to the age-old ways in which we've been hiring. I remember way back when we started at TCS, we used to carry a huge suitcase with a server and like so many papers, question papers, stencil answer sheets, and all of that. It seems like history now, but that's how a campus recruitment exercise would be. A whole bunch of people who would go there for doing this because lots of people used to apply. And we had about 10 people to do correction of test papers, all manually. So, the stencil sheet would have the holes done for the right answer. So you had to place the stencil sheet on top of the answer sheet of the student and then do the corrections and do it. I mean, I can't even imagine those times existed. And today it's a click of a button. I sit in the office and the test is done from here. And then we get the shortlist and then we, deploy this gamification. Nobody moves an inch. And the interviews can happen virtually, or it's a one-day affair when people go and see them face to face and come back. I think the whole world has changed so dramatically, and millennials will continue to be a large part of the workforce, at least in India for sure. And companies are looking for new ways to engage them through the gamification. And such millennials who go through these experiences also create products for the customers which have this element of fun and relaxation in very serious business. Take the case of GE. All of you know MRI scan is something that scares people a lot because you get into that machine and you feel claustrophobic and things like that. What did GE do? It used gamification, AI, and created a virtual environment when the child is getting into this MRI machine. And the whole time that the child is inside, there is a game being played. and the instructions are being given to the child to do something. To see and listen to that, and then they're told that if you're going to stay still, then a lot of fish will get into the boat. So stay still and don't move. And that's what you need when you do an MRI scan. You don't want the patient to move around much. Can you imagine what science is doing to you, what technology is doing to you? And if our millennials don't experience it themselves when they enter, they cannot create those kind of products which are required in the marketplace. So that's something which I think most companies need to move to. This is pretty much what I had on my plate to tell you. Much happening, more is going to happen, because the journey has only started a couple of years back. More tech companies are, getting into the fold to see how you can bring this experience to people, right? And when you sell a product, you have a gold category customer, select customers, silver, platinum category, and you give them something. Yeah. So if you in a flight, if you fly so many times, you're given certain privileges. So the same thing now is going to translate to you and me as employees of an organization. And that, I think, is the big change that is happening in the world. So that's from my end, folks. And I hope you found it useful. And I'll be happy to take any questions if there are.
Yes, ma'am. It was a very informative session. So we'll move ahead to the question and answer session. So we have a lot of questions. We have one interesting question by Shirish Mahajan. The question goes like, organizations, you've mentioned that organizations should no longer expect loyalty, but employee retention and turnover is a leading workforce management challenge for many organizations and HR professionals. This adds to significant operational costs for employers and compromising their growth and profit. How do we achieve the best of both them?
Yeah. So look, lack of loyalty doesn't mean lack of retention, right? That's not what we're saying. But don't expect people to say, oh, my father worked here, my grandfather worked here, so I'm going to work here. That's loyalty, right? No, I'm going to work here because I love to work here. So what it means to say is, you're a consumer. All of you are consumers of certain brands or products. Why do you keep going back to a particular brand? Could be because the fit is perfect for you, or the colors that they offer is great, or the texture is great. So that company tries hard to maintain those value propositions for you to go back. If you were to go and buy a particular brand and, suddenly you see that it shrinks when you wash it, or, it kind of tears after a while, will you ever go back there? I'm sure you will not. You will then go and start looking for other brands and then decide what to take. This piece of loyalty versus retention is exactly the same. Don't expect people to stay there because they've been there forever. Because even a person who's put in 15 years will decide to move if every day is not a great experience for the individual. Okay. And that's what the pressure on the organizations and employers will be, to create a workplace which is fulfilling every single day. Because 2 days in a row, if I don't feel happy, my friend, Harish, I'm not going to go back to that workplace. I don't feel like getting up and going there. Okay. I may still continue, but my heart is not there, and then I will look for something else. That's what it means. So,
very true.
Yeah, so retention is very important, by the way, and you're absolutely right, Shirish, when you say operational cost goes up and retention doesn't happen, because every recruitment is a very expensive business. And so how do I retain? Not by expecting loyalty, but by appealing to them every single day. You remember the 5 things I told you about? The physical, emotional, virtual, intellectual, and which is the 5th one? Sorry, I forgot. Anyone remembers that? Aspirational, right? So if those things are happening every single day, then, you're there. Nothing to worry.
Yes, ma'am. We have another question from Jenu Jain. It goes like this. With the more quality of life upgrades that consumerization brings in, is there a possibility of employees becoming complacent from a security standpoint? If so, how do we overcome this?
Complacent in what sense? Sorry, just tell me that again. Is that a question on the chat box or it's separate?
Yes, ma'am. It is by Jenu Jain. You can just scroll up.
Okay, let me see. Yeah. I can't see the question somehow. But anyway, yeah. Can you just repeat that, please, if you don't mind?
Yes, ma'am. The question goes like, with the more quality of life upgrades that consumerization brings in, is there a possibility of the employees becoming complacent from a security standpoint? And if so, how do we overcome this?
No, they can't get complacent. And that's what we discussed completely. That, you can't just sit on one laurel and say, this is what is going to take me home. It doesn't work like that. I just told you what happened in the pandemic. Everybody had the same opportunity to appeal to the employees, but some people did it very quickly, very fast, and a way that it connected with people, right? Now, some organizations are giving one day off to get the toxicity of the virtual medium, right? So I'm saying that if you don't do this, immediately I'm going to look at such organization and say, oh yeah, this is better. Yeah, I mean, why should I not work there? Why should I be here and slog myself from morning till night? Yeah, so it's very dynamic. Things are happening very quick. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Given the paucity of time, ma'am, we would have to have a hard stop right now, but I wish we had more time and we could interact with you more. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your valuable insight on the consumerization of HR and the employee experience. We hope that this session has been an insightful experience for all. We now request you to join the respective breakout rooms where you can network with each other for 10 minutes. Before joining the breakout rooms, we will be launching a poll. I urge everyone to vote and then proceed for the networking break. Thank you, everyone.
डैड ने कल इंसुलिन लेना भूल गए एंड इज बीपी शूटेड अप, तो सुबह हॉस्पिटल लेके गया था उसका, बाकी कुछ नहीं।
अभी कैसे है वो?
अभी ठीक है, इंसुलिन लेना भूल गया तो शूट अप हो गया, तो अभी दिया तो नॉर्मल।
भूल क्यों गए थे फिर?
हो गए लेने से पहले वैसे।
मतलब पहले भी हुआ है ऐसा?
हाँ हुआ है एक बार।
तो फिर ध्यान रखा।
digitally network amongst yourselves. Before we hop on to the next event, I would request the team to kindly display the results of our first poll. Okay, so here we have the results, and we just wanted to gauge the preferences of our audience today. And we have a fine margin of 54% people opting for coffee, and the rest are chai lovers. To explain this more, now we have a special event lined up for you, an interesting session by the students of batch 21-23 to bring out yet another exhilarating game for your amusement. May I now invite Shubham, Deeksha, and Alankrit to take over the stage and lead us to a great session ahead. Over to you three.
Hey Shubham, why are you sulking?
I'm suffering from depression. The feeling that you get when you run out of coffee.
Just take this coffee, Shubham.
Thank you, Diksha.
Also, do you remember the coffee breaks, regular water cooler chats, and those senseless talks with your colleagues in office?
Yeah, Diksha, I still feel nostalgic about them. What about you, Alankrit?
Hi Shubham, I recall my days as a project engineer at the substation. We stayed back late at night to ensure the healthiness of our project. In winter, staying back till 1 and 2 in the midnight was something which was extremely common. I recall the local workers bringing us milk, and we used to lit a bonfire at the substation, sipping coffee and stargazing before, of course, my project engineer gave us a reality check.
Alankrit, let me have my coffee first. So yeah, I am back in mood. So since we're boasting a lot about your love for coffee, let us see if you can answer the following poll. Coffee is the national drink for which of the following country? Brazil or Ethiopia?
You know, coffee is just that a caffeine kick or fix that they use to start their days or when they need a pick-me-up.
Totally agree, Diksha. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you have submitted responses, and the answer is Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, even today, in fact, the coffee ceremony is still more than a simple cup of coffee. It is an integral part of the social and cultural life of the country.
At work, as well as in other social arenas, the phrase, let's have a cup of coffee, is often synonymous with let's have a conversation. Deeksha, I'd love to know your memories with coffee and breaks.
Yeah, Alankrit, I'll put in my anecdotes with coffee in this way. Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen. Pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come alive to virtual MBA.
What? Diksha, I'm really not angry with you. But to be very frank, I am afraid I lost a good friend. May God bless you. I personally have been very evident to different tangents of virtual coffee. Let us see how our audience deciphers the same. Let's have a poll. If you could put the virtual coffee breaks in 4 or 5 words, what it would be? A casual discussion with the colleagues, a quick call to the loved ones, or a power nap. What about you, Diksha, the so-called friend?
I'll choose power nap, Shubham.
I knew that was coming. Alankrit, what about you?
Shubham, I did word it this way. What mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, and more unashamed conversation. And eventually I'll end up calling my buddy. So ladies and gentlemen, we have the results of the poll here. Glad to know our audience has some stimulating opinions on coffee breaks. Apart from this, I recall extending my professional relationships through coffee breaks. I met many people with whom I never had a conversation previously. Still, the breaks enabled me to get acquainted with professionals from cross-functional verticals.
I second that, Alankrit. Coffee breaks does offer a moment of downtime in the workplace. A simple coffee break allows the employees an opportunity to step away from their desk and distance themselves from their work, relieving the work pressure and providing some much-needed relaxation time.
Also, as workforces across the world are practicing social distancing and working from home to contain the spread of the global pandemic, it has become imperative to design creative ways to maintain productivity and professional relationships in virtual workplaces.
As we all adapt to new ways of working and studying, virtual coffee breaks prevent our academic and professional relationships from hitting the wall and prevent us from reeling from the side effects of isolation. This is Diksha, Shubham, and Alankrit signing off with a quote we found apt not only for the summit, but for every individual out here. You can't control everything. Sometimes you just need to relax and have faith that things will work out. Let's go out a little and just let life happen over a cup of great coffee. We'll take your leave now. We thank you for making the activity bewitching and lending us your ears. We hope it was as much a treat to you as it was for us. Thank you once again. Over to you, Ramya.
Thank you, Shubham, Diksha, and Alankrit. I'm sure this activity brought back some of the office memories, and it was indeed a beautiful act that set up the context for the panel discussion that is next in store for us. Before we bring our esteemed speakers on the dais, on behalf of Symbiosis Institute of Operations Management, I would like to take this opportunity and thank you all for your gracious presence in the 13th edition of the annual flagship conclave HR Summit. I, Ramya Ramesh, am extremely honored to be the host for this session. We owe the success of Digital HR Summit 2021 to our sponsors, and it gives me immense pleasure to thank our gifting partner, Super Smelly, our knowledge partner, Noah Rex, our confectionery partner, The Dark Bite, our apparel partner, Ethnician, our global mentoring partner, CXO Mentors, our EdTech partner, Verzio, our event listing partner, Noah Fest, and our outreach partner, D2C Igniters Club. Moving on to the most awaited session of the day, it is rightly said, good ideas start with brainstorming and great ideas start with coffee. Presenting to you all the topic of panel discussion, virtual coffee breaks, invigorating work-life balance. With such an entrancing session, we bring an equally impressive roster of industry speakers who would present their insights during the discussion. I would now like to take this opportunity to introduce our eminent speakers of the day. Our first panelist is Ms. Pallavi Poddar. Ms. Poddar, currently the Regional HR Director at Ingersoll Rand, has over 18 years of experience in the field of human resource management. Her experience in companies like Schneider Electric, Nestle, and Saint-Gobain has made her an eminent HR leader, and she has perfected a technique to dream up the best HR intervention and innovative talent strategy for global businesses by focusing on organizational growth. An alumnus of SIOM HRD, Ms. Poddar is an entrepreneur by heart and is committed to get the right talent into the organization and see them grow into future leaders. We're extremely honored to have you on board, ma'am.
Thank you, Ramya.
Welcome, ma'am. The second speaker to join the panel discussion today is Mr. Raphael Goswami. Mr. Goswami is a seasoned HR leader with over 16 years of experience domestically and internationally. Currently the HR head, India region in United Phosphorus Limited, a position he has held over 4 years. Having previously worked for almost 12 years in companies like Procter & Gamble, Hero MotoCorp, and CFLD India Investment Private Limited across FMCG, chemicals, and manufacturing sectors, Mr. Goswami has achieved a track record of delivering high-impact results. His expertise lies in exposure in HR business partnering and core HR areas like talent acquisition and management, organization design and effectiveness, learning and development, compensation and benefits, and employee relations. He's a graduate from SIOM HRD and has delivered great guest lectures at prominent B schools. We are extremely honored to have you, sir. Last but not the least.
So much. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Last but not the least, the final panelist of the day, Mr. Sarosh Bode. Mr. Bode, currently the head global human resources for ACG Associated Capsules Private Limited, has 15 years of progressively responsible experience as a global HR strategic business partner. He's a certified organization development practitioner by the Indian Society of Applied Behavioral Sciences. He's always taken up strategic partnership roles, supporting and influencing senior executive leadership, and his expertise lies in designing and implementing HR strategies, talent and change management. An alumnus of the Wellinger School of Management, Mr. Bode is known for leading teams and navigating large, complex, and matrix corporate environments. I extend a very warm welcome to all the speakers here. This session will be moderated by Dr. Yashomandira Khade. She is an assistant professor and head of corporate relations SIOM with 10 plus years of enriching experience in the higher education industry prior to 10 years of corporate work experience in the financial service sector. Ma'am is skilled in marketing management, customer relationship management, sales management, human resource management, and performance management. She's a strong community and social services professional with a Doctor of Philosophy focused in consumer behavior from the Department of Management Science. Very warm welcome to you, ma'am. This panel discussion will be of 30 minutes, post which the forum will be open to question and answer from the delegates. I would highly encourage the delegates to put forth their questions in the chat box. Now I request Dr. Khade to take over. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ramya. Good afternoon, all delegates and my co-panelist. And we are going to take everybody to an amazing journey of this virtual coffee break. Just to start, it's such an amazing how the world begins with a change to the eyes of a coffee. Just to start with. Sipping of a coffee and thinking with all possibilities, with all my co-panelists here. We have Pallavi, we have Atulya, we have Sarosh. We are going to discuss some important aspects on this virtual coffee break. I know we are physically missing up though, interacting it, but let's take a chance and understand. And let's just have a discussion about how things we can just foresee what's in store for us. Yes. Just to begin and to set a context for this discussion of virtual coffee break, the quote which is stated by Doug Conant, who is the CEO of Campbell's Soup, he said, to win in the marketplace, you first must win in the workplace. Yeah. Since this pandemic, businesses have tried their highest to provide their employees basic requirements of safety, stability, security. Lot of efforts have gone by the organizations to engage remote employees, which is real. And how the businesses are going to take their remote workers to create an atmosphere that fosters collaboration and innovations, which used to happen when we were physically meeting up each other, right? And also to provide a personal space for employees to zone out from these stresses at the workplaces when they were working physically, and provide up a wide range of benefits. This indeed fosters a sense of companionship within the team. But times have changed. So Pallavi, to start with the panel discussion, I would, like to ask you, I've just gone through a survey which was being done by Gartner in 2019, which said that just 25% of employees are able to confer with the HR about their goals in the organization. Yeah. Furthermore, less than 1/4, or rather less than 1/4 of highly engaged employees reported of having a high quality experience, showcasing that what we see isn't exactly what we get, right? So, we can see that informal methods of capturing the employee mood, opinions, and overall experience is the need of the hour. And this is where the coffee breaks comes into play. How do we provide the right platform to the employees using unconventional listening approaches while making sure that we get comprehensive insights from them in today's world now?
Okay, interesting question. Honestly, coffee breaks is something which all of us love, and starting from college and wherever. So it was chai breaks and tapri breaks, because that is the time you connect maximum. But while you were talking about it right now, the way things are moving, the things we are moving. I mean, I personally really feel that there was a time all of us have always been virtual. Whatever said and done, pandemic obviously brought that reality closer, but we've been always virtual because most of our extended teams were outside of, whatever, different locations and everything. Somewhere, even at that time, the coffee breaks, or I would say, used to happen with a certain set of people or the certain organization at a particular location. A lot of time, people who were a little distant, they used to feel they're left out, that, probably, they're not part of that core group or things like that. They used to talk about it. I would say pandemic has brought everybody together much more in a very different way, rather, because here, no one is meeting anyone. Everybody is working out of home. So there is no one that, you're from that core group, or, you've got a friend there. Everybody's a friend here now. Now, coming to your question, when you said that, the pulse surveys or surveys, which probably, not the right mood is there, or it can't gauge everything. You're right. I mean, the surveys are typically, they will just give you a pulse of the organization, something, just a snapshot that what's happening. But this active listening or different modes of feedback or different way of conversation gives a story behind what has come in these surveys. I mean, and again, that gives you a very larger picture of different, I would say, different topics, different matrices are there, different subjects are there. I mean, it's really wide. But here, this active listening, and I would say the coffee. I mean, all these modes are just giving you a story that why that kind of result probably gone from that location or something like that. So this gives a little bit of deep meaning, deep understanding that gives us an understanding what kind of actions can be taken, or what is the emotion around the organization right now on a certain topic. So I think that probably is very, very important. Now, again, if I come back and really build to the thing, but the virtual coffee break in this scenario, how we are doing as an organization, or what we are trying to achieve out of it. I think we've been very clear that start any of your meeting, first 3 minutes needs to be just relaxing. It needs to be informal. So, whether it's a group meeting, whether it's one-on-one meeting, whatever, because now a lot of one-on-ones have also started. I mean, which probably were not much there because we were mostly doing too much of group meetings. But start with something more relaxing. Try and create an environment where people just relax themselves out. So it could be a very quick Zumba. It can be a quick dancing. It could be a quick sharing of a joke, something very, very funny. So we will relax and they just let them out that, I'm in a very secure and a good environment. And then you start your discussion, start your meeting. So I think that's one way of, we starting it off, or I would say some of the examples. And again, one-on-ones again are a very good way of, in terms of, having those discussions, understanding, picking up from the pulse surveys or your engagement surveys, what you're hearing, building onto it, because one-on-ones create that kind of closeness. I think even virtual one-on-one video discussions are equally fruitful these days. I mean, I can really say that it's just that, how comfortable, how empathizing the manager is, how empathizing the team is, how well they built that network and created that atmosphere that even we are not seeing each other physically, we are there for you. And I think with that, we can really be very active listeners and just gauge as much as from them. So I think that's what I can say.
Yeah, Pallavi. Being an active listener, I think we did learn it. And I think that was the first stepping stone of the leaders, that you have to be an active listener. I think it's all coming back to basic. Yeah. Moving my next question to Saroj. Coffee breaks at workplace are something that have become a pivotal point of for employees, which acts as a de-stressing element, right? Sure, it does give rise to some grapevine communication too, and a lot of research have gone into it that if you really, the HR leaders want to send some grapevine, coffee corners were the best ones when we were working physically at our workplaces. However, it is a place where employees connect with each other, right, on a personal level, breaking all the barriers of hierarchy and authority. And even if we see the movies now or some Netflix shows, they have shown how coffee breaks were something to get connected with leaders, brag up some projects, connect with the leaders, probably not there when you could see them in the cabins. But now, given the fact that this unprecedented times, while most of us, and rather all of us, are working from home, somewhere this coffee break has lost their significance. In that case, what would be the alternatives replacing the same coffee breaks, or the same informal meets that employees were otherwise used to? Where they thought, let's, catch up that particular leader, that project leader during the coffee break, and he usually drinks coffee at this time, right? And can the coffee breaks be still incorporated while we all are stuck in the virtual mode? And what innovative alternatives can be explored, or can be practiced in industry by your experience? You can suggest some best practices about. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for having me here. I think it's I kind of want to break this question down in parts, if you allow me to.
Yes.
Let me start with a little context where we were last year. And somewhere in the month of March, when we all started work from home, it was perceived to be one long coffee break. Rather than, it being the other way around and the discussion that's happening today. And I still remember, we declared it. There was a lot of, question marks that people had saying that this is not going to work. When are we coming back? And assuming that, week, 10 days, maybe 15 days, we should be back. And over that weekend, I got several jokes, sarcastic jokes, if I may put it, where it kind of depicting saying that it doesn't work. And work from home is not for us. To a time where a couple of months down the line, and I'm talking about May 2020 last year, where we went ahead and declared work from home till March. We said, for sure there's going to be no vaccine and stuff like that. So let's give clarity to people because they need to handle their house rents and stuff like that, whatever needs to be done. So let's do that. So I'm just saying from this traditional mindset, things shifted very quickly. And people realized it's more productive. It increases engagement. It brings in flexibility. It creates that safe environment, especially in a pandemic sort of a situation. It allows people to work from anywhere. So reduces cost in that sense. Like I said, if people are paying rents and stuff like that. For an organization, brings in more diversity. Because I can now look at a talent pool which could be very different from the one that will like to come to work. So from there, clear advantages. And if I were to just share a little research, so McKinsey did something last year, and it was a global research with about 200 people working from home. And 54% of people said that, we will look for an opportunity elsewhere if remote working does not sustain. There's another survey, and we talk of employee burnout and stress levels being high, and in India about 70% of people said that they're highly stressed, and at least they experience stress once a week. So coming back to office was only one more stressor for them. So we are now reaching a situation where it's going to be possibly hybrid working. People have taken their 2 jabs, and we are kind of talking about it, but at the same time hybrid is not going to be like real hybrid as I see it. It's not going to be 2 or 3 days of office and 2 or 3 days. It could be very different. And I think more than us HR folks, it's the population that we manage that will, and the talent that we manage will decide that. I'm already facing huge amount of questions in interviews saying that, will you allow me for the next 2 years? How is it going to be? Etc. etc. So that's the context. I think let's look at coffee breaks in light of that. Do they help? I think is one question that you asked, and for sure they do. I think you also asked me saying that what could be the different variants and what are the different initiatives. So I think there are 2 types of initiatives. One which is more peripheral, one which is deeper. Let me talk of the coffee breaks which are more activity based. So stuff like, you throw in a trivia, you're having a meeting, you're having a serious discussion, possibly even having a learning intervention, and you throw in different trivia, which is customized, suitable to the audience there. So Hollywood, it could be sports, it could be politics, it could be, office politics, if I may say so, just to, lighten up the environment and create that little buzz around. The other one that I've seen is something more physical. So could be a quick dance routine, could be a quick stress buster in terms of some aerobics or stuff like that. Zumba is what Pallavi shared. I think things around that. We recently had a kind of competition in the organization, which was creating your own reel along with your team. So, and people had that physical dance and all of that, which came up. I don't know whether it was a stress buster for people like me, that was more stress, saying that, now this is something that I need to kind of match up to the youngsters on. So that's another thing that I saw. I think, one of the things that we did once was we said everyone has to come with very interesting personal questions and fun, light personal questions, and let's do a podcast. So we kind of asked each other those, created that podcast, recorded it, and then it was spreading on some of the WhatsApp groups internally. So it was like a fun thing that we did. A couple of times I have had experience meditation. So especially if you have someone who specializes in that space and can do it well, I think within 10 minutes, it settles you down. I heard the second favorite was a power nap on the pool.
Yes.
So gives you the same kind of calmness and, brings you there. And then there are virtual games, there are crosswords, there are puzzles, there are the Sudoku. So I've seen and, experienced a lot of that. Going deeper, I think the work that I also like and enjoy doing, especially with my leadership team, with my teams, is having more meaningful, deeper conversations. I think Pallavi touched upon one-to-ones, also group level ones. So where we kind of, get to know what's happening in the personal space for that individual, talk about highlights there, talk about, what's kind of bothering you right now and where we could as a group help you. So it could be one-on-one, it could be in a team setting. So I think that's something we do. In fact, I agree with Pallavi. We don't do it with every meeting in terms of 3 minutes or so, but we have specific meetings where we give a decent time for people to talk about their personal stuff once a week, once in a fortnight. So what's happening in the person's personal life as well. Otherwise, it's only work, and you're jumping from one call to the other. I think as much as coffee breaks help, when we were at work, we also used to spend time traveling. And there also used to be a buddy or two or a group which was traveling together. I think we kind of lose out on that bit as well. So having that one-to-one connect helps. I think eating together, I've realized my team bonds over food. So, once in a while we try and catch up. We also try and have a drink together. So I'm not a hot beverage person, so coffee, tea doesn't really work for me. But yeah, we try and do that. You spoke about grapevine, and let me touch upon that. So I am going through a leadership intervention where one of the questions asked of me was that, what's the ritual of your team? What do you all typically do? And what's it that you guys are really at your, enjoying the most or at your best in terms of feeling light? And when I was processing this with my team, I think the one that they shared is when we kind of gossip, when we do trash talk, bitch about people. And, I'm saying, I'm not trying to be politically correct here, so I'm sharing what it is. But at the same time, I'm saying as HR folks, it's our responsibility to maintain confidentiality, and our credibility is based on that. So we don't really talk about data that has been shared with people, but talk about what's more in the grapevine, saying that, what am I hearing there? What am I hearing there? And connecting, having fun over it. So I think that surely happens, even in the virtual space, and not shying away from it. The last one I want to talk about is that as an organization, we do a lot of work in AI. And when I say AI, I'm not talking of artificial intelligence here. I am referring to appreciative inquiry. And that's a space where a lot of our conversations, when we want to get people together, we want to have, just talk, get people into circles. That's where we use appreciative inquiry, which is trying to find out what's the positive things working in the organization, what's the positive working for you in your team, etc. So that again creates a lot of energy towards this work. So those are some of the ideas that I had, or I've kind of experienced. Let me share with you that you can't paint it with one stroke. Everyone has that. The one size does not fit all types. So you need to customize it. You need to see what will work for what target audience, what they feel comfortable with, especially when you're dealing with global folks. So that's there. But having said that, I think most important is to have that openness and trust. And, typically you might feel a little cautious dealing with some people from different nationalities. But, once you start sharing your vulnerabilities as a leader, start talking openly, That's where people realize that this is a safe environment to, be themselves. That's how I see it. And lastly, I think I shared this saying that, we need to be cautious that none of this creates more stress in the system because you're trying to finally de-stress the system. So, a lot of times our engagement leads get into stuff where, it could be uncomfortable for someone. Or they may not be from, like, if I do something on Game of Thrones and half my population doesn't see Game of Thrones. So, we need to be conscious of that bit. And or if I want someone to dance and, not everyone is comfortable dancing. So that space needs to be given to people and leaders and HR need to be aware of that. Sorry if I've been a little too lengthy with this.
No. Thank you. And so aptly said, these are all stress busters, these breaks. It should not stress an employee or the talents upstating, I don't know how to dance and now they're telling me to dance, And I think a lot of WhatsApp came up when we went on a virtual mode and suddenly HR came into limelight as, what are you going to do for us, So a lot of reels were also there on Insta and Facebook stating, how an employee juggles up with the household chores as well as joining up meetings and how he's frustrated with so many virtual breaks, which we used to call as stress busters. But yes, rightly said, and I really appreciate and I hope the delegates have also taken the new definition of AI. Yeah, we've been speaking only artificial intelligence, but it's so beautifully coined, Sarosh. Thank you so much for giving us AI being called as an appreciative environment. If I've got right, I've just
appreciative inquiry.
Yes. Appreciative inquiry. That's so nice. I think that's where it's not the HRs, but even the leadership or the functional people, or even the people who are working in the organizations now should move towards this appreciative inquiry. I guess our colleagues, we just now have been on virtual emails, we just mail up and say, hey, hi, how are you? Or in WhatsApp email. But I think if you can just drop up, call up and say, I hope things are good and let the other person or you yourself speak something. A 2 minutes conversation can really boost up the morale of a person. Probably some things which we are really not aware of. Right? And suddenly, if you see, there has been a digital quotient coming up. We were only speaking about emotional quotient, but now I think we all have to be aware of digital quotient. And I think AI is something, as an appreciative inquiry, is something to just have for it. It's like a cherry on a cake. Thank you so much, Sarosh, for sharing this. Now, moving to you, Atulya, I would like to ask you, there was times when, we used to work face-to-face and now we work through screens, And with the talk of metaverse being the future of work, and you see all these screens, even our screens have turned up into 3D and we have all our backgrounds just to say, look, this is what we are. And then we carry up our company's logos or the meeting logos just to probably involve, ourselves as well as the meetings. But I would like to understand, what potential do you see in these technology to engage people and inculcate innovation?
Sure. Very good afternoon to all, and a very apt question. So let me touch a bit upon the virtual coffee break first, and then come to this question. So I think the interesting thing about this whole piece on virtual coffee break is, which started stepping in somewhere around let's say April of 2020, when lockdown hit us for the first time, and the whole definition of WFH, which was work from home, also became work for home and work out from home, and I don't know, many other W's added to the whole scheme of things, is actually something which has been leveraged pretty well by a lot of organizations over the last couple of years. And I did hear Pallavi and Sarosh talk about these elements that sometimes you feel that I'm so much connected to the person. Actually, it should have been the other way around. But sometimes you do feel that now the way you connect with people, or the way you can see their expressions while they're talking to you on a video call, or the kind of close connect you can have on a regular frequency, probably, maybe if we just go back like 3-4 years back from now, maybe we were not meeting so often. But and now when you meet people virtually, actually the number of connects have actually increased. So this is one big change that has happened, over the last couple of years. Interesting thing about virtual coffee breaks is that it makes it very, very informal. So there's no dress code to start with. There's no agenda. Not many occasions, right? There is obviously a coffee mug. If you can see this, it has to be with you. And because sometimes I think this is what we tend to get wrong. Sometimes we start putting an agenda around it. We start making it very formal. We expect people to participate. There's a dress code, but that's typically what you need to avoid, right? So it is supposed to be a completely informal setup where people can speak their hearts out. It's a very informal platform where people can talk about families, they can talk about achievements, they can talk about lot many things, right? So that's the whole context of virtual coffee break, which most of the organizations are trying to implement. And now coming to the technology part of it, the question that you had specifically asked. So thank God there is technology. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been any virtual coffee break. And simplistically, to talk about it, there are so many things that have, people have started using over the last couple of years. Lot many organizations, again, depending on what cycle of evolution the organization was at, MS Teams was not something which was used by lot many organizations. There were many people who were using it. Zoom calls were already there. It had been existing for quite a while. But lot many organizations, keeping aside the technology world or the financial sector world, or where you have lot many remote people, were not using it. But in this period, there was a huge, huge implementation or huge adoption of how you can use a simple technology like a Teams to have those virtual coffee breaks, or to make those connections on a regular basis. A lot of people were comfortable with the Zoom aspect of it. So just to give you a very simple example, we started a virtual coffee break called Ye Hui Na Baat. So this was the name of the program. And this was done on a weekly basis, right? So every Friday evening, you have a Ye Hui Na Baat. Absolutely informal, no dress code. We've had people, this can be beeped out. We have people sitting wearing a sando vest there as well. So there's no dress code there. There's no agenda. All that happens is, let's talk about some of the fun elements that have happened over the week. Let's talk about some of the big achievements. So this guy in XYZ sitting in Hyderabad was able to sell these many cases, which created a lot of excitement for the team. So let's talk about that. Let's recognize that person, and make sure you have your coffee mugs along with that. So a very informal setup, which makes people talk about the personal side, makes it very simplistic, makes it very easy. And the other interesting element of this whole break was getting the families involved, which never used to happen in our previous setup. So when you're talking about physical meetings, you always had the limitation of cost element attached to it, right? So with technology coming in, the whole game of engagement has completely gone to the next level. And look at the companies. I mean, the whole COVID situation has created so much of challenge around the business models of so many companies. Think about a company which is operating in the travel space. No vacations are happening, right? So now they have started happening, but in that particular period, vacations were not happening. So what did they get into? They got into technology. They started doing virtual rewards and recognition programs. And I'm pretty sure today, most of the organizations who exist and who play around the engagement piece are doing some sort of virtual rewards and recognition programs. And who is doing that? These are companies like Thomas Cook. These are companies who were actually doing vacations earlier, right? So, and you today involve the families also. So they are also a part of that. And when we did our digital rewards and recognition program using this entire technology, it was a 2-hour long engagement. One would really question that, can you really engage somebody for 2 hours? But you could do that because you had dance performances of kids, you had singing performances of the spouse, and you had all the employees involved. You made it absolutely, though it was digital, but it gave you the feel of the whole virtual element and of the whole real event in a real scenario. And you were able to pull it off for 2 hours. And today technology is allowing you to do that, right? So these are things which most of the organizations are actually using it. Let's talk about the third element of effectiveness of teams around the learning part of it, right? So how do you engage the teams from a learning point of view? EdTech industry is the most booming industry in the last couple of years. I think the tech adoption, if we have to talk about the EdTech space, it's completely, just gone out of the roof. The kind of mobile technology, the mobile app-based platforms you're using, be it a Skillsoft, be it a platform like a Udemy or a Coursera, I think almost each one of us is very, very high on e-learning today. And mobile technology of, introduction of these apps has actually, brought it so much. It's so seamless. And even today, when you look at the hybrid model, I live in Mumbai, right? So traffic is a big challenge. I every day go on the Western Express Highway, spend almost an hour to hour and a half to go to my office and to come back. So which means 3 hours of my life. This mobile technology helps me today. And if even in a hybrid model, I get that technology to do that. And while sitting at home, I can assure you in our setup, we got the highest adoption of e-learning platform in the last couple of years. And this was actually the sales organization which was doing it, which typically a lot of times you find a challenge that they should be made to sit in a room and do a session. They'll keep stepping out of the room. You'll always have a challenge around, having people engaged. But in the e-learning platform, you brought a very self-based learning technology, right? So people do at their own pace. They do when they want to do it, and they actually do it, which was the most interesting part of the the element. So various technologies. I mean, starting with a simple Zoom platform to a Teams platform to a EdTech platform. In the HR space, there are many things that have happened in the last couple of years, and I would not repeat the element which the previous session was being talked about on hackathons, right? So a lot of companies are starting to use hackathons to do the sessions. Gamification is another aspect which has been introduced, not in our setup so much. So in our setup, we typically looked at a very basic level of setting up of the technology. But I think the most important part, the companies who got it right were the ones who implemented well with some sort of creativity, some sort of innovation, more humane connect, because like I said, sometimes these virtual coffee breaks can become formal business meetings. And I think that's the biggest watch out that should be avoided.
Thank you so much, Atul. And rightly said, these coffee breaks should not wash out and you have only a formal discussions. We need to connect, and that's where we humans are, right? So unless until we don't connect, I think we really cannot feel that we are together. Yeah. So one common question I would like to ask all the panelists, and then we can take up the questions. I was just browsing through the chat, and there are a lot of questions being floated. So this common question goes for all three of you is, and then I would like to start with Pallavi first to share up this, and then we have Sarosh and then Atulya, you can share your viewpoint on it. So in today's workplace, work happiness is critical, right? And maintaining a work-life balance is one of the most crucial factors, right? Employees at organizations with a healthy work-life balance are more enthusiastic. And that's why, we are going with more of yoga, meditations. There are a lot of promotions going up. Right? So as a result, concentrating on this statistics that it is very important to have a healthy work-life balance, what according to you should be the future HR policies a company can make or have in place to ensure that the employees utilize the best utilizations of the breaks, so that they can maintain the desired work-life balance? Because we came to know that post 3-4 months when these breaks were there, these people suddenly started saying they are getting more stressed up with long meeting hours or long digital presence out there. So hence I would like to understand, because from all three of you leaders, what type of an HR policy you foresee a company can make or have in place so that employee benefits to utilize their breaks to maintain the desired work-life balance? Over to you, Pallavi.
Okay. So let me again have to start with a little bit of context. Work-life balance, honestly, have always been an issue. So whether it's a virtual environment, whether here, so every employee engagement survey, the lowest score will typically be on the work-life balance. And now, obviously, after moving to the virtual environment, you keep hearing about the burnouts and too many meetings. Now you don't even get time to have lunch, and you're having lunch on your desk, and everything is happening. So work-life balance is there, and somewhere as an employer, as an employee myself, I think probably I am a firm believer that if you love your job, there's no question of work-life balance. But okay, never saying that. I mean, obviously, as an employer, as an organization, as an HR leader of a company, my prime responsibility and a policy is to provide that kind of environment and the work that an employee is loving it. I mean, if we are able to provide that kind of job to an employee, and obviously, I mean, that's a kind of discussion which not alone HR can do, but the entire leadership gets involved into that. When we're able to provide that kind of, when I say job, it is obviously the career. That, a career an individual is looking forward for, an individual that gives a kick to the person that, oh my God, this is a kind of role or a job I wanted to do. Automatically, half of your battle is won there itself. Now, that's not easy every time because, obviously we can't provide something like to all employees. I mean, that's something which we keep talking about it and we keep practicing very consciously about it as well. But some of the policies when we talk about, which probably in this virtual environment, which we definitely have started promoting. And I can give example of my own organization is, we all of us have got mandatory offs. That obviously the law also tells us to have those offs. We do get those paid leaves and everything. The issue have always been the utilization of the leaves. You'll see most of the employees who are not taking those leaves. It's not that, we are not providing. And we do have some extended leaves also. With COVID also, we provided some leaves. So a lot of things are happening. We realized when we did a dipstick that people are not taking leaves because probably, right now, no one can travel out. So, they'll think about that. What should I take my leaves? What should I do? Spend these offs on. So I think now that's the kind of coaching and the discussion we started doing. Mandatory off, please, you have to be out of the workspace. Now, still, people are coming. You get that kick that, oh my God, I have 10 mails to respond to. Maybe I'll just finish it off because entire day I've been sitting, doing nothing, watching TV. But in night, 1 hour, I want to spend time. Now, these are the things, at least we've been able to give them 7-8 hours, which mandatory pushing them to take some time off. I think that's what we've been educating our leaders. And I think that's what as a policy, I don't want to use word policy, because here more than policy is about how do we educate our managers, educate our employees, and also show that empathy that, it's important for you to take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your health. And I think a lot we've already spoken about. Saroj did mention a bit on the health aspect as well, that, a little bit on the health, or Atulya said something when we talk about the learning and development aspect with the mobile, and technology is there for us to rewind, to, not spend that extra 3 hours, but, to relax and enjoy that time as well. So I think enjoyment, have fun is the element which we have to keep talking to our employees. And I think not only HR can do that, our leaders can also do, and our leaders must do that. So I think I can add that. Maybe Saroj, I'd like to hear some of your inputs on that.
Over to you, Saroj.
I completely echo what you said, Pallavi. A lot of it we do as well. Just philosophically, or, if I look at the ethos of my organization. So HR typically does not make policies just like that. Or, we see a good practice there, or, something nice happening elsewhere and just bring it into our organization. We start with the voice of customer. So, or, like I said, the ethos is start where the client is. So last year, one of our pulse surveys threw up this that, people are overwhelmed with work and too much happening. Company was succeeding, but people are getting burnt out. And we did a specific survey around this, found out what was kind of, inhibiting them or creating this kind of pressure. And we took care of some of the hygiene stuff. So, stuff like when people said too many meetings happening, we said no meetings before 10:30 in the morning. So, you have your thinking time in the morning, you get started. No meetings post 6. We got some resistance saying that, people who are dealing with global associates, someone sitting in the US, someone sitting in Brazil, where their day opens typically at 5 p.m. India time. How do we deal with that? And we said, you pick your choices on those particular days that you have to do it, but it can be working both ways, So There's a time when the US starts early, and it still wraps up between 6 and by 6, and then there could be times where you need to stretch a little. But more or less that's come into play. Lunch hour 1 to 2 no meetings. That's like a written rule. Most times it's followed. There are times when we need to catch up on something. We miss calls or something, we catch up, but that time is blocked. There are mandatory leaves in a year which people need to take. Last year we didn't mandate it because people came back, like Pallavi said, saying that we can't travel, and at the same time we were also dissuading people from taking leave, getting out of their homes and traveling and all of that. But that's the thing which is there within the organization. I think most important is flexibility. How do managers allow for that? We are no longer in this environment of punch in, punch out, clock your 8 hours, clock your 9 hours, whatever it might be. I think we need to be well aware of that. And different people have different compulsions. Someone could be having young children at home, someone could be having something else, someone's giving priority to their physical well-being. So creating that flexibility where you're not putting in rules and policies in place, but allowing managers to give that freedom, at the same time having some structure in place. So it's not that I can work from midnight to 7 in the morning and my manager is okay with that, but I'm seeing some structure but leaving it quite open-ended. Again, the other thing is no meetings on weekends or no disturbances on weekends. With teams coming up, we realized that suddenly people started bombarding associates with messages, chat messages, saying that this is pending, that is pending, following up, forgetting emails. But and we also kind of given a written guideline there saying that post office hours, which is post 6 p.m, none of that is encouraged unless it's like very, very critical and urgent. Otherwise, you can expect that you can put in a message, but you will get a response the next day. So don't expect an immediate response on that. So those are things which to me are hygiene and which we've taken care of. We've also given flexibility to people to select their paid holidays. So barring 3 paid holidays which are mandated, the rest they can decide. It could be on a bank holiday, it could be on any other day. So a person is free to choose an anniversary or a birthday or someone else's birthday or just any particular day you want to take it or club it with a paid holiday. So we've kind of given that flexibility as well. And I think if there was a one-line answer to your question, it is create more flexibility. More and more flexibility to allow the associates, empower them to take decisions as far as work is concerned. As an organization, we should be more concerned about outcomes, not so much about who's doing what at what time, holding them by that. So one last thing I want to say is that one is hearing associates' voice, which I touched upon. We also involve associates in co-creating, is what we call it, our future or any other policy practice. So in this moment, ACG already started a project last year, which was the future of work as the ACG way, how we would like it. And we've typically looked at 3 buckets here. So one is in terms of the office space and collaboration and flexibility and all of that. The other one is about talent and how are we looking at mobility and stuff like that. The third one is on digitalizing our organization. And this is where we've involved the larger organization in playing a role here and, contributing to how they would like it. Now, the win that I see it even before something comes out of it is that people feel engaged. People feel happy that they are contributing. Second is, as and when we implement that change, it's going to be much easy for us because they are part of the change. So, it's their baby and they will do it. It's not really HR's baby in that sense. And the third one is I see it, that culture becomes more inclusive. The culture becomes that of me owning my organization and what I do in the organization for the larger part of the organization. And that's where what we call a strive comes in. People go beyond the call of duty to strive to achieve much more for the larger good. So I think these are some of the things that we're looking at.
Thank you. Over to you, Atulya, your viewpoint.
So I'll echo a couple of them. I think a lot has been covered here. So one usual approach which a lot of organizations look at is having your casual leaves expire if you don't use them in the entire year. Because if you have a carry forward facility there, typically people don't tend to use them, right? So that's a slightly push based approach of putting people to use those leaves and have some sort of vacations and work life balance, if I may use that word here. The second element, absolutely bang on, talked by Sarosh. I think most of the evolved organizations would look at flex at work. They'll have policies around that because you don't want to be tied up with, and everybody has their own style, their own schedule of operating, hybrid model, work from home model, people working from their own homes in their hometowns. So you have all kinds of scenarios today, right? So you got to have that flex at work called out. I think calling it out as a policy that these are my core hours in a day has to be called out. That these are the periods where you are always going to be available. These are the periods where you can choose to be available, right? And especially in a global environment, it all the more becomes important because you work with US, you work with Europe, and you have all kinds of locations participating, collaborating in a meeting. So you got to respect those time frames, right? So I think that flex at work element being called out becomes very important. I think the third one to me is a slightly long-term or a medium-term game. I would say is more about lifestyle management, because who is responsible for work-life balance? Yeah, though a lot of times we talk about this in the survey, but do we really know what work-life balance is and how do I do it as an individual, right? So it depends on two people. One is you yourself, my friend, and the other person is your boss, right? So these are the two people who really need to understand the concept really well on, how do you do work-life balance, right? So can you have some policy or some engagement around lifestyle management? Because even though you may be not working, but you may be doing something like more of tech addiction, which is actually even more stressful, right? So sometimes it's also important that people are trained, or there is some sort of program which actually de-stresses them and talks a lot about how do you actually manage your balance, right? How do you do that? So it's more on the lifestyle management side of it. It could be sound meditation, could be Zumba, it could be many things which have been talked about, and specifically bringing in programs which actually help people become better in their personal side of life as well. And the second piece, which again to me is a medium to a long term is a thing which may sound a bit indirect here, but it's a lot direct, is how do you create the leaders who are more sensitive? How do you create the leaders who actually appreciate the whole element of work-life balance? Because a company can create a policy, but the leader has to actually role model it. And if that is not happening, most of the time you will end up getting a low score in the survey, right? So a lot of sensitization around how do you get the right leaders in the system. Recording stopped. Recognize the right leaders in the system. How do you enable them? And how do you bring this whole element of work-life balance as an employee value proposition? Let's put it that way, right? So overall organization understands that this is important. So few policies, but I think a lot of training element on lifestyle and leadership development can also make it better.
I think due to the paucity of time, I'll just take one quick question from the chat box. We have been speaking that there are two school of thoughts now for the employees. One who wants to, probably not come to office, is comfortable at sitting at home. But this question is from one of the HR delegates. Recording in progress. Jenu Jayan. He says, I don't know the gender, but he or she says that, the people who actually want to get back to the workplace, okay, there are a set of people who would like to go back to the workplace, and there are people who would like to keep home and business separate, okay. So these are two people really raising up now, post offices being, and we are getting back to normal. How does, as an HR professional, address these needs of such individuals? How are, the KRAs or probably the policies going to be made up for those set of people who want to work from home, and those who would like to come back to office and work and would like to keep their residence or their home separate from business? Anyone who would like to take up, or each one of you can just give a quick thought on it.
So, if I may just add a few seconds on this one. So one of the studies which plenty of organizations have done over the last 6 months is around understanding who can work permanently from their hometowns, who can work permanently from their homes, who can work permanently, who have to permanently work from the office, right? So there is plenty of research happening in that space as well, and this depends a lot on what your role is. So it's always going to be a win-win between who you are and what you're bringing on the table from your role perspective, and what does the organization expect. So it's not going to be a choice-based system 100% where you say that I'm going to work 100%. It will depend a lot on the role of the individual. So for example, if I am I'm just cooking up an example. So let's say I'm in a coding job where I can collaborate virtually, where I can work on my own, probably sitting in Patna, which is my hometown. I can work from there forever. Maybe sometimes I may need to come and meet, but I can operate from my hometown. But if I'm a HR professional, where I have a sizable number of people coming in the organization, which is 50-60%, probably a flex at work kind of a model, hybrid model might work, right? And if I'm somebody who is in a leadership position, where I have to get the stock of the situation, probably hybrid model may or may not work, right? Depending on the culture of the organization. And a lot of it depends on the culture of the organization as well. So you will have to frame out customization. I think this is one big change that has happened post-pandemic, is that HR professionals will need to be more predictive and more customized, should have more customized approach in terms of policies, because one size fits all will not work here, right? So every role will have a different impact, and depending on that impact. So it's financial year closing. Can a finance guy work from home? Answer is no, very difficult, right? So most of the time you'll expect them to be in the office. So I think those are the choices which both the organization and the role being looked together has to be made.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes, Pallavi.
Yeah, maybe I'll add to what Atulya said. I think he was bang on, started saying that with the culture. Us being a manufacturing organization and also being into the space which is essential service. So obviously, we'll have our 50% of people always. I mean, even throughout the lockdown, they were going to office because manufacturing plant cannot work.
Not sure.
You have to be there. I think it's really role specific. It is everything. But I think one thing which I really want to talk about here is a lot will go on the ownership. What pandemic has shown us is that, how many policies we can have, whatever our leaders can do. Something is that I have to take my own responsibility. I have to be in charge of my own learning. I have to be in charge of my own growth also. There earlier also, but still a lot of time the owners used to be that, what is the HR doing for my career, or what is the manager? There was a discussion, but right now you have to learn your ways, you have to network your own ways, you have to understand your, whoever you have to reach out to. I mean, you have to figure out ultimately why you are very productive is you are able to get your job done. Now, I think in this scenario, what Atulya said that, it is going to be so customized because here the manager will really look at that individual, even if the role is like that, but how is that individual to perform or is to deliver? I think a lot of those things will also matter a lot in terms of, really defining the KRA or defining the person or defining the next steps.
Yes. Over to you, Sarosh.
Yeah, I think I'll just touch upon flexibility once again, because I see that being the core here. So if organizations can allow that flexibility, I'm sure, not many people would want to come back to work if their role does not require it. But there'll be some people who are constrained, possibly constrained by the mindset, possibly constrained by other factors. And I would give that space. I would allow that and make those shifts happen slowly. People might create that infrastructure in the future for themselves to work from home. But till such time, I would, as an organization, provide for it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarosh. So parting away from this discussion, I know a lot of things were to be discussed. We could not take up the questions from the HR delegates, but I think the parting takeaways from this virtual coffee break was, HR has a different role now to do it. Instead of making it policy, which, HRs are known for, this is another policy which has come by HR. Yeah, I think we have to educate the people and the employee that it is for the betterment, and giving up probably considering the hygiene factor also, because we are all working on a digital platform. So hygiene factor of considering what be good for that particular employee, right? And also, another key takeaway from this session is we need to let the employee contribute. Yeah. So the leaderships, the functional people, or the team leads have to ensure that the employees let the employees contribute, let them be what they are, instead of being policing and understand and probably looking up, having that lens out. What is that person or that what is that particular people doing now? I think if we change ourselves, we'll ease up, and I think the betterment of the organization's growth will be seen post things when we get into normalize and accept this change. Yeah, thank you so much to all my co-panelists, Pallavi, Atulya, and Sarosh, spending up your Sunday on this virtual coffee break. Really nice connecting to you all. Over to you, Ramya.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. That was indeed an engaging session with quite a few significant and mesmerizing takeaways, I would say. And it was wonderful to be able to hear some wonderful speakers talk about a very interesting topic like virtual coffee breaks on this platform. I thank the panelists and our moderator for delivering an insightful and yet another informative session. Now I request everyone to join me in welcoming Mr. Sanjeev Joshi, convener HR Summit 2021 on the dais to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thanks a lot, Ramya. Good afternoon, one and all. We have successfully completed our fourth and the final webisode of Digital HR Summit 2021. We had some prestigious speakers gracing the event and sharing their invaluable insights on the theme, The Wind of Change, the Art of High Impact Leadership. Great leaders do not set out to be a leader, but they set out to make a difference. For them, it is never about the role, but always about the goal. This common yet very powerful corporate quote was well explained by our today's sessions. I would like to thank our keynote speakers, Mr. Thomas Kuruvilla, Mr. Umar Rao, for sharing with us the practical insights from people management domain. Thank you very much to our esteemed panelists, Mr. Atulya Goswami, Mr. Sarosh Bod, and Ms. Pallavi Poddar for deep diving into an illuminating and interesting panel discussion. A big thank you to all the respected delegates for participating and attending the event. We certainly hope that you're leaving, or I would rather say you're logging out with an enriching experience. Thank you, Dr. Vandana Sonwane, Director SIOM, Dr. Yasho Mandira Kherde, Faculty Convener HR Summit, and Head of Placements team for their constant support and words of wisdom. Special mention to our beloved SIM faculty members and the entire SIM staff for their monumental efforts in making this event possible. A great applause to our sponsors and the whole HR Summit students team. Special thanks to PNE, registrations and invitations team for such a wonderful speakers and a great audience. I am deeply grateful to DG Infra and Comparing teams for ensuring a seamless digital experience. Also thanks to CompR and sponsorship team for all their efforts. As rightly said, all good things come to an end. We are now at the closure of HR Summit 2021. Thank you all for your patience. Take care and have a great Sunday. Now I would request Ramya to take it forward.
Thank you, Sanjeev. We couldn't have imagined a better closure to the 13th edition of HR Summit. Now, as we move towards the end of the day, on behalf of the SIOM family, I would like to thank the delegates for being a diligent and a wonderful audience. We wholeheartedly thank all the sponsors for trusting in us and engaging with us. I would also like to take this opportunity to wish the teachers and professors all around the world, especially our beloved SIOM faculty, a very happy Teachers' Day. With this, we conclude the final webisode of the 13th edition of HR Summit 2021. Stay tuned on all our social media handles. More promising and engaging events lined up for you year after year. We look forward to connect with you all in person next year for the 14th edition of HR Summit 21. We hope that you've enjoyed the journey with us so far. This session will end here now, but the breakout rooms will be available for another 15 minutes. This is Ramya Ramesh signing off. Stay safe and take care, everyone. Thank you.